it's quite appropriate to read that article and honor who we're honoring here tonight. So it's pretty impressive. So we've got a couple of items real quick. Jimmy Carroll, former mayor, nominated Dudley. Jim, I'm just going to read parts of your nomination if you're okay with that.
Please feel free. I'm done.
so edited. So this is from Jimmy. He said, I'd like to nominate Dudley Spangler with the Spirit of the Island Award posthumously. I always pronounce that wrong. Unfortunately, we lost Dudley last year. Dudley's helped cook hot dogs, hamburgers, etc. for well over a decade for our public safety personnel on the 4th of July. On top of this, he was an integral part of organizing the community and cooking a traditional Thanksgiving feast for Thanksgiving for our public safety personnel. These meal events help show our public safety personnel that they are greatly appreciated by the community. Not to mention, Dudley was a morale booster for our public safety personnel by frequently stopping by, dropping off treats for those on duty. There is not a police officer or firefighter who did not enjoy Dudley stopping by to say hello and thank you. Dudley's actions were the essence of this award. Thank you for submitting this award. Jimmy, thank you for doing that. So 2 things we've got to give to Glenda, if you want to come up or if you want to stay seated, whatever you're comfortable with. Come on up. So from the city, a small token, it's a Spirit of the Island Award presented to Dudley Spangler in recognition of his outstanding service and dedication to the Isle of Palms, February 2026.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Chiefs, if y'all want to come up, I know the public safety folks had put together something to give to Dudley's family. So if y'all want to come up and read this, that would be great.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. And thank you, Ms. Spangler. So this is just a small token, just a recognition from our police and fire departments. I'll read it. Dudley S. Spangler was a man whose kindness and generosity touched the very heart of the Isle of Palms community. Year after year, especially during the holidays, he made it his mission to care for the men and women of the fire and police departments. While these dedicated public service servants spent their holidays away from their families to keep ours safe, Dudley and his family stepped in to make sure they were never forgotten. Through coordinated meals, thoughtful gestures, Dudley brought warmth, comfort, and a sense of belonging to those who serve. His efforts reminded us all the importance of community, gratitude, and looking after one another. Dudley's legacy is not only in the meals he provided, but in the love and respect he showed for those who protect us. He will truly be missed. His spirit and service and compassion and friendly wave will continue to inspire the Isle of Palms for years to come. Thank you.
Chiefs, thank you all for doing that and your teams. That was very nice. Glenda, thank you all and family and friends for being here tonight. I'm sure we could open the floor and go on and on with multiple stories about Mr. Spangler over the years, but thank you for sharing him with our community and for what y'all do for our community. Thank you. Yeah.
There's a lot of people here. Where are they at? You see all the people?
Cool. Next item is citizens' comments.
Renee, ready?
My name is Renee Reddy, and I live at 118 Ocean Boulevard. Thank you, council members and mayor, for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm here not only on my behalf, but also representing numerous homeowners who cannot attend tonight. First, the Army Corps project is an experimental project with no studies with impact of pumping spoils onto our beautiful beach. The last year has been a disaster with significant damage to the public beaches, private property and private and commercial properties along Hamlin Creek as well. These non-beach compatible materials are being pumped onto the beach with no monitoring or oversight from the city. We ask that this be halted immediately as the damage is evident to the naked eye. Since the pumping began approximately 1 year ago, erosion has accelerated south of the fill areas. Sediment displacement is pushing the materials into the shoals near Sullivan's Island and the inlet, redirecting secondary channels onto our beaches. Not to mention heavy equipment traveling up and down the beach as many as 10 to 15 times per day. Second, we request that the council consider bringing in Folt Olson to provide an opinion on the Army Corps project and oversee the very expensive renourishment project. CSE has been wrong on almost every issue for the last decade. The beaches are worse every year. CSE was disciplined by DHEC multiple times for everything from digging the spit at the end of Isle of Palms to how they managed the scrapings for the past 2 years. And they were recently fined in the Polly's Island case. In addition, they should have warned the city about the disastrous Army Corps project. Instead, CSE is actually deducting the incompatible Army Corps spoils from the renourishment quantities despite ample evidence that the spoils are not working. It seems irresponsible, if not negligent, for the city to continue with the Army Corps project with ample evidence of damage. It also seems irresponsible for the city to entrust $30 million of our money. I don't think you would spend your money that way. You are our elected officials. You're chosen to represent us and to protect citizens of this island. We are asking you to exercise that responsibility tonight. Halt this project immediately. Bring in qualified independent oversight and protect our beaches, our properties, and our environment before further irreversible damage is done. Thank you for your time.
That's all.
Thank you.
Did you want to talk?
Sure.
I mean, hold on.
Yeah, hold on. They've already had some,
They approached me about
yeah,
speaking.
they approached her as well after the
Correct. And then
fact.
Ms. Vandenham turned in a statement that'll be included with the minutes.
Okay.
I mean, it's ultimately your call, not mine, but that was what the exchange was between the two of us, that she said something at 4:59 this afternoon that will be included in the minutes.
Charlie, it's up to you. Do you want to speak?
Sure.
Well, we
We need to make a motion.
That's what you all decided.
I'd like
Nicole, what do you
to,
need to make that happen? I mean, a motion or just.
I don't even know what the motion would be, but you would have to just approve her speaking since she was outside of the time. That's up to you guys.
Well, do we normally do that, Nicole? I don't know, do we allow people if they want to speak to speak?
Well,
Or ask
what's
the
been
council
happening in the
that. I
past is
think,
if we had
yeah.
more than 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
If 30 minutes is allotted, and if people asked to speak and you were still within that 30 minutes, that's
Yeah.
something that you guys could allow. I mean, has it been done in the past? Sure.
I make a motion that we allow her to speak. I don't want to hold up a resident for some kind of formality, so I make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's short. Let's see if these work. Ooh. My name is Shirley Vanderham. I live at 302 Ocean Boulevard, which is on the ocean side. Dear council members and mayor, on behalf of many of my neighbors, I am here to ask that the city bring in Folt Olson to oversee the renourishment project and to calculate the amount of sand needed for a true renourishment on the southern beaches of the Isle of Palms. As you all know, the southern beaches have never had a major renourishment. The 600K cubic yards of renourishment scheduled for the southern beaches in 2018, which I was here then, and required under the conditions of the permit never happened, even though CSE's data continue to show erosional cycles for this area. Public funds allocated for the 600K cubic yards were never returned. Now, once again, we hear that CSE is reducing the amount of sand for the southern public beaches. They justify it with the Army Corps spoils being as an offset. As is obvious, the Army Corps materials is not only not beach compatible, but appears to contain, and I sent you all pictures of them, contain clay, oil, and sludge that is illegal and certainly not held on the beaches. We ask the city not entrust a $30 million project to CSE that has been consistently wrong. It does not make sense that Folt Olson is not involved in the short-term major renourishment when they have been entrusted to find the long-term solution. Thank you.
Good. Great. Next item is approval of previous meetings minutes. We've got a city council meeting from January 29th, 2026, special city council meeting February 10th, 2026, special city council meeting bid appeal February 10th, 2026. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any changes, edits?
Just one item on page 6 in the packet. I think it says that the budget assumptions are going to be held or reviewed at a workshop on February 10th. I think that is March 10th, right? I want to just take a look at that. It's just a date correction.
Other edits, changes? Nicole, you good?
Yes,
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item, old business discussion and consideration of beach renourishment. We have multiple topics underneath this particular heading. I don't know that there will be consideration for most or any of these tonight, but at least a discussion. So first is borrowing versus direct expenditure for this project. In your packet, you've got multiple scenarios, and just to ground everyone real quick on what you're looking at. So it's showing fund balances from 2024 out through 2036, and this is on the screen here in the room. So general fund to the left, capital projects fund top right, beach preservation fund bottom left, and all our tourism funds on the bottom right. Josh, I don't know if you can move it up just a touch to get those bottoms on there. So this first particular page is if we paid cash for the entire project, and you can see how it would affect our fund balances. And again, just let me run through what each one is, and we can come back and touch on each one. The next one is borrowing $5 million of the total cost and having a millage increase to offset any debt service that would go with that. And Josh, if we go to the next page, it would give you for a 4% resident, it would give you the millage there per $1 million for appraised value. Next page is $5 million without a millage increase. Next is borrowing $10 million with a millage increase to offset financing cost. And then on the last page is $10 million without a millage increase. So questions, comments, thoughts? John, go ahead.
I just like maybe did Deborah do this?
Yes,
Yeah.
geez.
Just a couple of questions, maybe come up here, Deborah, but on the assumptions that you used, did you draw down with the debt, what funds did you draw down for the debt coverage? Was it just primarily or solely the beach preservation fund? Because I noticed in some cases, the tourism funds and the capital funds, their projects change as well.
So for the millage, it came from the general fund, and with any debt service, it's just a net because you would increase taxes to offset the debt. So you will have revenue, and then you will have an expense to offset that debt.
Mhm.
For the ones that is not related to millage, it came from the Beach Preservation Fund and as well as some of the other tourism funds.
Okay, so you use both multiple funds to draw down the debt, right? Or use the debt. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, in future years, does this reflect the fact that some bonds are going to mature
Yes,
and that millage is going to come off?
that's correct.
Property tax?
That's correct. So this actually reflects a lot of things. These schedules currently show part of the beach renourishment taking place in 2026, part of it's taking place in 2027. It shows, it captures that the city received $1 million grant that's been applied. Also, at that time, it assumed that the city was receiving the $1.5 million grant that was applied for that has since been awarded. So it assumes at least $2.5 million of grant income. It assumes the lease purchase of a fire truck for $2.5, and that debt would be $312,000 a year. The Fire Station 2 GO bond was paid off in January of 2026. Now, part of that bond was paid for with increases in taxes, and part of it was paid from the hospitality fund. So the part that was paid with general fund, that amount comes off. This also includes $1.8 million for 38th and 41st. That's taking place in 2027. Phase 3 of Waterway, that's taking place in 2027. That's $1.6 million. And the $14.8 million that will take place in 2027 for the remaining part of the beach that doesn't happen in 2026. We're anticipating at least 1/3 of the funds will be expended in 2026. That also includes $1.5 million in dredging. So there are a lot of factors that's in there. Some of the income, some of the expenses are coming off, some of the debt is coming off. Like in 2028, we have a lease purchase of $1.5 million for a fire engine. Debt is coming off for the public safety building that same year at $475,000. We also anticipating, and this is of course approved, which has to be approved by council, the sand retention methods of $4 million. We have that in as debt and not cash. And that's about a $600,000 annual payment. And then the remaining of the drainage project for 38th and 41st is $3.3 million. And there's a lease fire truck lease that's coming off to the tune of $92,000 in
To that
29.
point,
So
to that
this is-
point though, on page, well, if you go to page, well, you can use that page, for example.
Mhm.
It shows that that's for a $10 million bond with mill. And it shows that for per $1 million of taxable value, primary residence, 4%, the impact would be $175. But that doesn't include that some millage is going to be reduced because the debt's coming off.
Right.
So
No, that's
the
just
net
what,
impact is going to be less than that by the fact that millage is going to come off. for
right.
other
And this
bonds.
schedule does not show that. That's
Okay.
correct.
Would it be, can we get that? So show the net impact, in other words, for that particular case, if
Yeah.
you have 175, but some amount's going to come off, what the net impact would be per $1 million of value?
Sure.
Because the public safety building, which is the biggest chunk, so that's probably 1.5 mil,
Yeah.
rough number. Yeah.
So it's going to be significantly
Yeah.
less.
It's not really the public safety building, which was, because only 110 of that was being paid by the general
Got
fund.
it.
So it's not 1.5 mil.
Would it be possible to maybe
Not
put
even.
together I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so not even a mil.
Yeah.
really.
No.
What I was thinking, Deborah, and maybe this is for our budget meeting coming up in a couple of days here, but kind of take the taxpayer review and show from 26 through 36. We've got all of you mentioned, I think 3 or 4 items I was just jotting down that you're assuming are going to be debt financed
Mm-hmm.
that are coming on. So we do have things coming off, but we also have things coming on.
Right.
And, just pick an interest rate or what have you, but sort of look at it, hey, from a tax bill standpoint, we've got I think if you go to the $5 million page, it's an $89 or $87. That's going to be out for 8 years, but you've got things dropping off, but it looks like you've also got some things that you're assuming are going to be coming on in the future years. So maybe that view from a taxpayer perspective would be very helpful so that we can see how that's going to impact, and then we can make a decision in its entirety. I mean, does that seem helpful?
Yes, I can definitely do that.
And Deborah, for the 2 debt scenarios, I think you said you're assuming like $100-ish thousand for underwriting cost. Is that right?
Yes, which is not in the financing schedule,
Yeah.
but it is built in the budget
As an expense item.
as an expense item, yes.
When I look at the cash, the first one,
Mhm.
where I see the beach preservation fund is taking a big hit, expenditures out, but it's going beyond the money that we actually have in the beach preservation fund.
Your tourism funds.
The
or
tourism fund.
That orange blip in 27.
But Katie, are you talking about your 2035 hit? And
No,
I was
I'm
gonna,
looking at 2027,
Current project.
okay.
the triangle at 26, between 26 and 28. The fund balance, it says right now in 2026 is just what? It's right around 10.
10-ish,
Mhm.
10, 11. Yep.
So how are we spending almost 16?
It's being funded by your tourism funds.
Look at
Is
your,
is
yeah.
that what you're asking?
from 26 to 27 on your tourism fund graph.
But that's not the beach preservation fund, that's the tourism.
Oh, I see. You're saying we're spending more in the fund than we have money in it. I
Right.
see what
Transfer,
you-
yeah.
on the spike. Yeah. That,
And I'm also wondering, I'm also not really getting the 20 million. Am I?
So if we take that fund down, so 2027 already shows that we're going to spend some of it in 2026. So 2026 fund balance is already going to be decreased. So if we take the 2027 fund balance down to $2 million, the rest of the remaining of the $20 million, because we're saying we'll spend about 5 in 2026. And the rest will come out of 2027. What the beach fund doesn't have will come from our tourism funds.
Okay. And I just feel like, just from a visual standpoint, I feel like, I mean, we've got a chart of tourism and we've got a chart of the beach preservation. I feel like it should show where the money's actually coming from each time.
I think the question is, how can the line exceed the bar?
Yes, exactly. If it does, then we don't need to increase the millage. We can just
I mean, your green line.
keep making the orange line go higher.
Yeah, the green line in the beach preservation fund chart. When you see the blip in 2027, that's money coming from the tourism funds transferring in. And you're drawing down your 2026, $12 million, whatever it is.
Are we increasing our contribution to the beach preservation fund?
Through tourism, yes.
So just the one.
The orange line in tourism turns into the green line in beach preservation. So it just transfers over and then goes out.
Correct.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It seems like a shell game. I mean, I just feel like it makes more sense if we just said that the beach preservation fund is shot, because it's gonna be.
That's what you're saying on August, on
Right.
Yeah.
But you need to
2027.
keep
You're down to 2
something in
million.
there.
Yeah.
That's,
And
that's,
that
you're
we're
saying
taking
the
the
exact
money
same
out of-
thing. All we're doing is moving money. You're moving money from one fund to another just to cover this. Because the beach fund cannot sustain this amount of money on its own. So it has to come from somewhere else. And this is just showing that the money is coming from the tourism funds. So if we're transferring from the tourism funds, then of course we're not contributing as much to our general funds, which feeds our capital funds. That's kind of why those lines are kind of going.
And then following
Down.
year, right?
And Deborah, to that same point, in the year 2035, there's a massive spike out. But to Katie's point, the spike is bigger than the balances, and there's no, I mean, it shows another year, but there is no money to pay for that spike, and the spike is not shown being covered in those next years.
Right.
So that is
The
that's
next project.
That's,
yeah, that spike is not covered in these.
That's
Yeah, these
that's a one-sided entry, basically, is what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, there's no,
There's no money to
there's
cover
no
that.
money
Right.
to cover.
So the 2027 triangle is being covered by tourism funds,
Right.
That's correct.
Deborah, show on
but
the green line versus the orange line. And that's where the money's coming in and out.
is
Yeah, I know this
That
is the
gets us
conversation
to
for the 10th.
18 million.
Oh, go ahead.
Is that right? Because we got 2 million in grants. Is that,
We have 2 million in grants, correct.
so that, I mean, these triangles get us to 18.
That's correct.
Yep.
And yeah,
Good.
this is estimated at, if we spread this out 8 years, if we spread that out 8 years for another project, if you compound that over the cost of living increase, the next project, the city's portion will be about $28 million or more. That's just estimate.
With an inflation assumption.
Right.
Yeah.
So there, at that time, the fund balance will be down to like $15 million if we take all the money from the fund balance and try to cover that project. We'll take the fund balances down to like $15 million. So that shows that the city has to do something. The city has to consider.
Or the state.
Somebody has to do something to give the city some money to cover the next project. This one, of course, the city can manage either through cash, through debt, or
Oh, the top left chart does not show the impact of 2035.
right, because that's our
the
general fund.
fund.
That's correct.
Really, none of them show the impact of 2035.
Right.
It's just a big
There's no
spike
mo-
showing out with no kind of solution.
Right.
in
We don't know. We don't know where it's at.
Rusty.
Yeah, thank you. On the tables you've got here, Deborah, for 5 and 10 years, I know we've touched on this before, but on the millage rate now, the per 1 million taxable value for primary residence on both those scenarios, that's based on property tax assessment value,
Property tax assessment.
not the appraised or fair market value.
That's correct.
Right. So that would be a lot less than what you'd actually sell your home for if you decided to sell it.
And the nice thing about that schedule, it shows over the 8 years how much total you contribute. So basically $700. Yeah.
Per thousand.
Yeah,
Or
per million.
So I'll do a chart that shows the amount the city currently has in the budget to be financed, how we're currently paying for it, how it affects debt service, and the new debt service requests. So you
Yeah,
can
just kind of
see.
over a 10-year, what your forecast would be. Can I ask one other question? Do you, on the beach fund itself, what was your assumption about how much is retained versus spent? I mean, it looks like you got some spending in there. I think we know that we may get $1.8 million or so in the beach fund every year, but about half of that gets spent on consulting and monitoring and non-sand on beach or non-renourishment, so that we don't actually accumulate everything that comes into the beach fund for a beach renourishment.
That is correct. It equates down to, I think, about maybe 700,000 or so. I can't
year?
remember
That's
exactly
staying
the
in
numbers,
there.
but
Yeah.
about
That's pulled
700,000.
out every year for miscellaneous type.
No.
I think that's
Other
what
way.
stays.
The
yeah.
net,
Other way.
the net, it nets down to about 700.
Okay.
Because that's if everything runs smoothly. If there's no emergency sand, no emergency, that's as if there aren't any incidents. If we bring it in, the fee from accommodations and just regular expenses at about $500,000, some less, not considering any emergency services at all.
So this is an event-free scenario, basically, or any emergency?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and it's
Yeah.
also assuming no grants, no
Right,
state
no
money,
grants.
no anything.
It's-
And Deborah, sorry, go ahead.
It's just hard to determine if we're going to spend, because the numbers in the last 2 years for emergency services have fluctuated so tremendously. It's just hard to determine that. And we're hoping that this renourishment, as well as these retention methods, kind of alleviate that. We know we will have some costs, but the council is trying to put in systems that will prevent all the emergency spending that the city is doing.
And Deborah, one fund that's not in this lineup is we have about 4 million plus in the
4.2.
disaster recovery fund.
Yes, and that's not considered in any of these
Yeah.
numbers. That's for like hurricane.
Yeah, but it's not restricted.
It's
Correct.
not restricted. It all comes from the general fund. It's
Right.
not restricted.
And we haven't had a conversation about potential of installation of groins.
That's the $4 million
That's the $4 million.
project that she's got in out
Okay,
years.
I'm sorry. Yeah, good.
We're now calling it sand retention methods.
Very good. Okay.
Where does that show up
Yeah.
in this?
Capital projects out.
Capital project.
That's the 29 capital
That-
project? Okay.
The blip.
That is actually in 28.
28.
But it's
Fiscal
It's
29.
spike that we're
It's the
seeing.
spike we're seeing in 29.
Yeah, because that's probably when the payment takes place, so yes. That's some debt there, yes. Yes.
3 million, is that?
4.
4
4
million,
million.
okay.
4 million.
Sorry.
Looks like with any of these scenarios, is it safe to say that the available tourism funds that we've traditionally transferred into the general fund don't make their way over to the capital fund anymore? And that we're kind of starving the capital fund going forward?
It is safe to say less is being transferred. That is correct.
And that came out of the general fund, right?
Yes.
I
Whatever.
think we have to swivel through general fund to get to capital projects, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, I do
It's a
also
trail.
have, some of the capital requests, the CapEx stuff is paid through tourism. So I have started allocating a little bit more to tourism instead of pulling it from the capital funds, just because it's not being funded the way it was previously. Now, of course, we can do it however the city prefers to see it, because that's why that fund was established, to fund our capital CapEx projects. But if it's moving from one fund if it's moving from this fund, these funds, to this fund, to this fund, I'm just taking it from this fund, more of this fund, then more of the bottom funds, the tourism funds, than the capital fund. But of course, we can go back to filtering it the way we have, which we are still doing. We're still taking some of it from capital, but just not as much.
This may be a sidebar question, but would you be, this might be a request for the budget coming up. Can you let us know, or maybe you can work on it with your team, what kind of revenues are we going to be required to find or raise from whatever sources we can to change this trajectory so that we can fund these things? Or I guess alternatively, what kind of expense reductions can we look at that are, hopefully non-personnel that, we're taking a look at IT services and some other operating expenses that will close the gap. I think we're going to need to know what gap we got to close on the revenue and expense side in order to turn this boat to a positive fund contributor.
Yes. Anything else?
I don't know what are we gonna do something at the in March? Is that what our plan is?
So, yeah, I mean, tonight was just more discussion, get grounded on the options and see what the effect was at a city taxpayer fund balance level.
Yeah, I guess my question is, what is the timeline? I mean,
Yeah, Deborah, I know
for decision?
there was a timeline. If we went down a debt road, there was a time, I know you don't have it in front of you, it's okay, but I mean, it's a 60-day waiting process. I mean, we're fine, but we don't, probably by April, May, we need to,
when are we not fine?
April, May, we need, if we're financing.
If 2026 is paid with cash and 2027 is financed, then I think we have time. I think we can meet the obligations that we're required to, and I can't remember everything that's needed, but we have to get a bond attorney and all that. So I think if council elects, I think if cash is paid for 2026, then we should be okay to finance 2027 and meet that time restraint.
And you're talking fiscal years.
Fiscal year, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deborah. Next item is update on request for bids. Douglas, you want to?
Yes. We are now, excuse me, the bid request has been posted. We have solicited to the known contractors that we believe are interested in submitting bids. Feedback has been positive. It seems like the timing could be to our advantage, so we're hopeful about that. We do have coming up, we have a mandatory pre-bid meeting that I believe is the 2nd of March. We would then have bids back we'd have bids back on the 18th, which would be just prior to your next council meeting. Hope would be that, you all would at least get a look at where the bids came in. Would also give Wild Dunes Community Association the same opportunity to see where the pricing came in. And our hope would be that kind of all things would come together at your April council meeting. So we would have bids, we would hope to have, and we're going to talk about easements, going to talk about agreements with the Wild Dunes Community Association. So that is our target, is to have everything kind of coming together in towards the end of April to be in time for your April council meeting to make decisions about those.
Douglas, if the bids are coming in on the 18th, that's like a month and a half down the road before we get a look at anything. Is there anything we can do in the meantime? I mean, would it take a month and a half to get ready for a review on it? I mean, I'm just wondering when do we?
March 18th. So
you said April, I thought.
Well, so end of March, we will have the bids for you to just see and know where they came in for your March council meeting. That then gives us a month to go back to the community association, kind of get the share, pinned down, get the easements in place, get everything in place that would be needed. But you'll know the amount on the 18th.
We'll have actual bid review on the 18th or
On the 18th,
at the meeting on the council in March.
That's correct.
March meeting.
March meeting, you will know the bid amounts. April meeting, we would expect you to have all the information to be able to award a contract if you chose.
Bid opening's March 18th.
That's
right?
correct.
So we'll know all the pricing.
And your meeting, I think, is the 23rd.
I got a question for you though, around the bid package. If you don't
Yeah,
mind. What was the strategy around structuring it with a deduct, an alternate deduct for the Reach 3?
So there was talk about what happens, and as you all know, we've talked a lot about what happens if we're unsuccessful in getting easements.
Yeah.
If we can't get enough or easements that makes sense on the south end, we would not be in a position to be able to award that work. So that is in talking through with Stephen, talking to the contractors, how they would approach that. That's the methodology.
But wouldn't the same be true of the Reach 2 and 3?
Yes.
But it's not structured that way that we could say, well, we didn't get easements, so we could back that out.
Yeah, I don't think that we have not heard of any issues with them. On the northern end, we have had easements for a prior project. The easements, from my perspective, were referenced to be permanent. We're going back for those easements, but we've never had issue with getting those easements. So we're not anticipating a problem getting the easements in the north end.
So
We could, but if we don't get easements on, I guess the issue is reversed where we get all of the easements on the south end, but we don't get them on the north end, we would have to renegotiate that bid, but don't expect
Or a
that to be.
reach. I mean, there's 2 reaches up there,
Yeah.
right? I was just curious.
I think the homeowners association has some sway.
Yeah.
pull.
Yeah,
I
there's
think
much-
That's why it's different than Wilderness.
There's much fewer of them. Most of them are actual condo regimes, so they're managed by a board. As I've said, the boards have always not had issue with granting the easements, so it's a much easier, has been an easy process in the past.
They've been accustomed to it, but
Yeah,
twice.
they've done it twice.
I got another question. Yeah, Douglas, you and I have been kind of talking about this. I think it's good to have a discussion around some of these lines and assumptions and different things in these drawings. And if, in looking at the bid document drawings, it looks like the dune is being placed at where the current baseline, state baseline is in the drawings. And there's some alternatives in there around, slopes and different things, and then where the berm or the sand would start to be placed, and then how far out it goes and at what elevation all up and down the beach line. But there's assumptions in there of 400,000 cubic yards of sand for the Reach 3. I think we want, a lot of people, including myself, want to see the assumptions behind that and how that's calculated.
Right.
And I think we will, right?
Yes,
Can you give
yes.
us an update?
Yes,
Because
so.
and nothing in this bid, it's in there, but we yet have to determine how much sand is going on all these reaches.
That's correct. Yeah,
Yet, but,
Part of that process during that month, we are going to get bid minimums, the minimum guaranteed amount of sand, that we wanted to advertise to get the interest of bidders to be attracted to the job. So there is a minimum in there, and the expectation would be, and quite frankly, the budget that we built was not terribly far above the minimum.
Mhm.
I think the bid minimum was $1,400,000 or $1,500,000, and I think our budgeting documents have been $1,600,000 or $7,000. So they're very close to each other. What we've worked on, and that's worked up to the approximately $32 million project, has been based on volumes that are very close to the minimums that are in these drawings. It would be fantastic if bids came in below what we have anticipated and were able to put a higher volume than what the bid minimums are or even what we've budgeted for in our cost estimates. But we won't know that until we get those bids back, kind of how much do we have, and based on how much we have and the bids come back, what volumes go on each reach. So that's still to be determined. There is a methodology, and I've been asking CSC, and I've received something back late this afternoon that just lays out in kind of engineering terms their methodology of forming the basis for those volumes. Just at a very high level, it's the desired minimum healthy beach profile, spaced out for 8 years from now, and then backing up the erosion rates to come up to, and then adding in the current amount of sands. So it's just an input and output exercise that gets you to, at the end of the useful life of the project, gets you to the identified minimum healthy beach profile. And I'll share that with council tomorrow.
Yeah, because I mean, the assumptions are important, right? On
Yes.
how you calculate that. And I think that's what we're waiting to see. But the basic premise of the project is that the dune system will be built at the baseline. It's going to be a roughly 14-foot elevation dune. From there, it's going to slope down, of which we'll start putting the berm or the sand, and it will be built to about a 7-foot elevation. And then go out some period of some amount and then slope down at a 1:18 ratio into the water. And then there's different, for up and down the beach, there's different profiles of current elevation. I think that's what we're missing as well, because those change over time based on erosion, right?
That's
So the
correct.
numbers that we're looking in the bid documents probably are wrong.
Well, they did survey the beach very beginning of February, so 2 or 3 weeks ago. So they did it at the end of 25. They had some numbers. They've now done it again just before these documents went out, but they probably will do it again before we actually release a contract for the work to happen. So they are constantly, to your point, monitoring the volumes in place at the time when they start the work.
Yeah. I think we really do need to walk through how we got from the 560 down to the 400 in detail. Because when we came up with a healthy beach profile over a year ago, those numbers were based on the volume and the monitoring at that time, from what I understand. The beach since then has deteriorated. So I'm really baffled as to how we go from 560,000 and the 1.2 million up at Wild Dunes to a lower number on the south end. And the only way, I may be off here, but if we are using the Army Corps sand, that is not beach compatible sand. We've been getting very low quality. We have millions of mud balls out there right now that are just accumulating and actually being relocated into the low tide zone. I think we're going to be talking about that later. But even the math on that, if we're looking at erosion rates, if we've had 800,000 cubic yards, I'm just making up numbers here, 800,000 cubic yards of Army Corps sand come in, and there's only 200 or 300 left on the beach, we can't use that sand to offset good sand. And if that's what's happening, we need to know it and we need to adjust. And I have to say, I would really like to see a second set of eyes. We haven't had any transparency on how these numbers are being derived, and we're hearing now they're coming tomorrow. The bids have already been let out. I would like to see a second set of eyes on these calculations to ensure that we do have the optimal quantities of sand, volumes of sand going on, and that we are accounting for the right type of sand, and that we're not using this Army Corps discharge to offset the volumes that we need.
Beth?
Well, I guess to follow up on that, is that true that?
So I think the short answer of why the volume is down for the potential, and again, I mean, this is the base bid, so council can obviously choose to put, if the city can afford to put more sand, city can obviously put more sand. But I think the short answer is yes, there is more sand on the beach now than there was 2 years ago. I think at the end of the day, I can't tell you tonight if that sand is the Army Corps sand or what it is, but I think there is more sand out there now. And if you, having walked the beach a ton, as I know Scott does as well, a few years ago, there were pools out on the active beach. So it is some amount better than it was at that time when they were removing the rubble of the pools that were.
Yeah, and
We have
I
an
may not be
actual-
making myself clear. What I'm saying is this is great that they're pumping like crazy out there to build up that base, but it's eroding so quickly that if we're taking a measurement at the high water mark of when the most sand is I call it discharge, has been put on the beach, we're just cheating the numbers because that stuff you can put it in an hourglass and it's gone. Or, I can bring in some clay balls for you. My bigger concern is that we're just pumping clay on the beach right now. That's just it's being exported into the water tide line. That stuff isn't going to go away. We're destroying that part of the beach down there. And I think we need to talk about that later, but I think we need some serious oversight on what's going on at that end of the beach. And it's not happening with our current consultant.
Do we have CSE analysis numbers from, I thought they were doing this every 6 months now?
We do have monitoring reports, but I think what Scott is asking for is oversight, city oversight on the Army Corps project, which
But do the monitoring
do.
reports show us the topography and the height, levels of sand?
Yes. Yeah, we know that the data has been collected for 2025, the end of 2025. We know the draft report has been working. They've been working on that report for us. We have had them very busy with getting the bid documents out. As John has described, we have been working to modify the shape of the dune to get into a configuration that we think is most likely going to result in hopefully all of the easements being granted. So we've had them working on other things.
If I
But we
wanted,
do
to,
know
look, if
that
I wanted to look at an engineer's report as to the condition of our beach, I would be getting June of 25 is the most recent we have, or is there something more recent?
There currently that would be as recent as we have. We know that we have the data for the very end of 2025 and should have a report kind of any day now.
I feel like this conversation is somewhat premature without that. I mean, that report is kind of
Crucial.
what we need.
Yeah, we will provide that very soon.
And if we're going out to bid without those numbers, how do we know that we're going out to bid properly? I mean, that we're putting the cart before the horse here.
Yes, CSE has those numbers plus numbers from as recently as February. Whether, again, to Scott's question about what's included in those numbers, I am assuming that all of the material that's been placed out there, I'm assuming they're not discounting material that is showing up in their surveys. I would assume that's the case. I'll need to verify that.
But I mean, they typically give us an analysis of not just sand, but the quality of the sand. I mean, I know we've talked about that too. I mean, so I'm hoping that all of that's being taken into account. And I mean, that all of these things need. I mean, we got to know what number we're starting at in order to know what number we're trying to get to. I mean, we can't do that. We can't do that subtraction without the.
Yeah, I don't know that we've ever had a report. Well, I don't know that I know we've never had a situation where the Army Corps is pumping material. So I don't think we have ever had an analysis of imported sand in those monitoring reports, other than the renourishment projects that we had a lot of data on the sand that showed up from our own projects. I don't think we.
I mean, Stephen has talked about it. I know. I mean, in June we had. That was when the last report was, and the Army Corps project was happening then. So I feel like I remember having this conversation.
About
I mean, the quality of the
silting,
sand and how some of the sand is lighter and will more likely float away.
Did you get?
Yeah, this might be. So we talked about establishing the primary dune at the baseline, and that's part of the assumption, correct?
That is
So
correct.
in Reach 3, because I'm really concerned about Reach 3, engineer's discretion, they can change the dune alignment and the position. It's like a design build kind of idea. Why?
Well, we have been talking about there, and I guess we've moved from the agenda into the easement question. We're kind of merging them all together.
No, they're all
We-
related.
Yeah, so we have talked about the fact that there are several properties right at the inlet that the baseline is far out from where the existing escarpment is.
Right.
We have been talking about the desire to potentially have the dune well out from the escarpment. And we've had same conversation with CSE and FOTH about what is the likelihood of that dune surviving way out there. Neither of them feel good about that. They say it can certainly be built that way. But we think that there should probably be some flexibility for certain properties. We've also reached out to those property owners and talked with them about, do they necessarily care if the berm in front of their property is so far out? And initial indications are that they don't necessarily care. So this is a pretty, and I will say that when we kind of talk through the design that seems to have favor with the residents down there, the design is not problematic for, I would say, from an engineering standpoint, the design is not problematic for probably 90% of the properties. It is problematic right around the actual inlet itself. So I think that we would want to have some flexibility if there's not a concern with putting that berm where the engineers think it should be. We would want to give that consideration. For the rest of the project, putting the berm at the baseline is very close to how it was already designed. So it's a non-issue, but right at breach inlet, it does cause some issues.
How many homes? Like 6?
Yeah, 6 to 8, I think.
When you say right at breach inlet, you're talking about it from the bridge to
Yeah, and
the mouth.
it's really
Facing.
in about 3 proper. When you get to right at the bridge, it's not problematic. So it's kind of exclude the first 2 right at the bridge, and then it's about 6 in line there where it would be putting that berm kind of, I say berm, that dune way out in what's currently water. And I think they feel like if you were to place that amount of sand there, it very likely would be gone pretty quickly. Wouldn't last the full, you wouldn't get your best bang for the buck for that part of the berm.
So-
But again, it's in the grand scheme of the number of properties we're dealing with, it's a pretty small number. of
So in that
properties.
area, you're talking about pulling the sand dune built back towards the properties.
Yes, if when we start down the path of getting easements, we're going to have individual conversations with each one of these property owners. Those 6 will be 6 to 8 would be treated kind of independently, and we need the rest of them to build it, as we've talked about, doesn't cause an engineering problem.
So the resolution to that on a long-term basis is potential growing.
That's right. And this is the area that it seems like all experts have kind of come to the conclusion that a groin in that area may be best in the long run anyway.
And there's no opportunity to expedite a growing permit to more closely align with the, have we talked to Olson about that?
To have it quicker than,
Yeah, it's some kind of an expedited kind of process to be able to get the growing system more closely aligned to the nourishment project. Maybe not exact, but within, so by the time they finish the project, we could have a growing system in. I mean, it's going to take a few months to do the project. So by the time we finish it, we would have it in.
Yeah, I would assume that, and again, I'm assuming that seems like the BCM permits generally run about a year. So I think we've kind of anticipated that we would have several months of their analysis. Then I think you'd have to have several months of permitting.
Can we
I'm
ask
sorry,
him his
design
idea
permit.
on that? Maybe since he's doing this first stab at the work, just ask his thoughts on that.
Yes,
As a
certainly do
potential,
that.
see something if we can expedite.
So Mayor, we're jumping around a little bit.
It's all right.
but,
You can
um,
do
could I-
escrow. Go ahead.
So how about we just keep on the easement talk? We're kind of talking about that now. So we have internally talked through our strategy to hopefully get, and again, our goal would be to get 100% easements. So we're trying to ensure that our starting documents, if you'll recall last time, we started with a permanent easement. And there were some false starts in there that ultimately cost time and effort. So we are hoping to start with an easement that will give us the highest probability of success. So as we've talked about here already tonight, we have heard back that the most favorable design appears to be having the crest of the dune at the baseline with the landward edge of the easement being no farther landward than the setback line. It would then extend towards the ocean out to the seaward limits of those properties. We are not, even though there was language about the prior easement and Wild Dunes being permanent in nature, we are anticipating a 2-year easement for both the southern end and the northern end. We have been doing with Max Firm, we have a lot of the ownership information already from what we've already done. We're having to update that information. That's been done. Stephen's office is having to update the exhibits. Each easement document has an exhibit attached to it. Those have to be created. That work is underway. So we are aiming for having all of the documentation compiled and ready for distribution in the middle of this month. We then are planning to, when we send that information out initially, we plan to advertise a public meeting with, and this is the same process we used last time, a public meeting for all of those owners. We would have engineers representative there, city's representative, and a legal representative there. That meeting has been tentatively scheduled for April 2nd at the rec center. So we're trying to be sure that we can have everybody there at the same time to be able to do that. Again, we're trying to get this organized so that when it comes time to your April meeting, we hope to have those easements back to you all so we can make determinations about the path forward and where we go from there.
So in the draft, it doesn't say where the easement is. Each one's going to be specific.
That's
to that
correct.
homeowner.
Yeah, those highlighted
But it's
fields.
going to be to their setback line essentially.
That's correct. And there will be an exhibit, a physical, a map basically attached to the verbiage that shows graphically where that easement would be, but it would be, its landward limit would be the OCRM setback line.
And they're all temporary, right?
They're all temporary, 2 years for all of these.
These are extremely similar to what was negotiated with the homeowners the last time around.
David.
So, one, I do feel like the 2-year easement doesn't do anything for us in long term. And I look back as, you go back 10 years ago, the similar discussion comes up. We'll work on those, getting permanent easements after we get through this cycle. And we're sitting here in the room having the same discussion. So to me, going ahead and trying to get permanent easements, even if we change where the locations of those easements are, based on homeowners is a better path forward than basically a 2-year easement that after 2 years, we're going to have to start renegotiating them again if we have issues with this end of the beach. So that's my feeling strongly on this. I do have a question as far as having the dunes established at the setback line. When you said that that's not an engineering issue, is there additional cost? How does that affect future erosion rates? Is it better to put, where is it best to put the dunes?
So the, and really this would be a question for Stephen, but it's my understanding, the dune was originally designed to tie into the existing escarpment. After the analysis of mapping that existing escarpment and mapping the OCRM setback line, the two are very closely aligned, if not, and really north of 6th, the OCRM setback line is well landward of the escarpment. So it's no issue north of 6th. Between 6th and about 2nd, it's a very marginal difference, 5 to 10 feet. So it was not enough to give them concern about placing it there. It's really when you get to those properties around the corner that it's, from an engineering perspective, a problem.
As a clarification, though, you're talking about the setback line, that the dune's going to be placed at the baseline, not the setback line.
So the oceanside crest would be at the baseline. It then has a 15-foot wide top. That top would be between the baseline and the setback line. It then tapers down so that the back of the dune all stays seaward of the setback line. There are a handful of properties, again, especially those 6 to 8 down at Breach Inlet, that would have, if we do not do any work landward of the setback line, there will be what we've been calling a gully. There's a little bit of, there are potentially stormwater concerns. You're trapping water behind there. We have heard from at least some owners that they would be willing to put sand in those areas between the back of our future dune and the existing escarpment. Again, it's not enough of a distance to be much of a problem for the bulk of those properties, but it is a situation down at those Breach Inlet properties, because it'd be maybe a 50-foot wide kind of gully that you'd be leaving down there.
And Douglas, to David's other point, I mean, you want to touch on the experience with permanent versus temporary
Yeah,
easement?
and David and I have exchanged an email that it was just so, I mean, we were, and I think to good reason, it was pointed out to us that we did not have a active beach nourishment program in place at that time. We had never done a renourishment project at that point. So the point was made, why would I give a permanent easement when you have never done a successful project?
On this end.
On this end, that's correct. I think that I'm assuming that the sentiment would be the same today. We still haven't done a major renourishment project down there. So I don't know that there would be any different outcome if we were to try to get permanent easements today. But it was certainly not well received several years ago. And I just don't think the changes, I don't think we have a different set of circumstances today to suggest that there would be a different outcome. If we had done several projects, they had been successful, I think we would be in a different, we'd be in a different place. And we've had that conversation internally about Wild Dunes. I do think some of them at least felt like they gave a permanent easement. I think that they feel, again, we've talked about, we not anticipating as much, they've just been through it. So we had talked about getting permanent easements on the north end, but then when we talked through this issue of treating the two areas differently in terms of the easement language, we decided to do a 2-year easement in the north end as well.
And I'm just looking at moving forward, and we all saw it when we were looking at the budget in, what was it, 37? And we're putting a Band-Aid on it to get through this hurdle, and we've got the next one. So we've got to change our methodology for how we manage our beaches in the future. And if we just keep kicking it down the road, it's not going to happen. So that's why I look at, let's start now and try to get the permanent easements, because 2 years from now, the chances of getting easements is going to be even slimmer, because people's property is not going to be in jeopardy, and they're not going to want to do it.
Well, if their property's not in jeopardy, I guess that would be a good thing.
Well, until it becomes in jeopardy. And again, I don't want to repeat this cycle.
Until you're in an emergency.
So going ahead forward now, where our best chance of getting permanent easements, I think that should be the path we move forward with. And I may be the only one that thinks that, but I just can't see us repeating what we've done 10 years ago and 20 years ago and expect 10 years from now that we're in any different place.
Yeah, I would just say kind of the city staff is operating under the assumption that council and the public wants the project done as soon as feasible. I mean, we have moved it ahead a year. We were planning on doing this next year. We caught wind that we may have permits in time to do it quicker. And this council endorsed that path and has kind of sent us down that path. And we've talked a lot about this April council meeting of really the stars kind of aligning for us, where all of this is going to come together in April. That's been our mission. That's been our goal. If council was to tell us, hey, we're okay taking another 8 months to try to get permanent easements, try to have, kind of negotiate individually with all of the owners down there on each individual property. If we had time to do a lot of this stuff, we certainly could, but I don't think we would meet our objective of starting the project as soon as feasible.
And may lose our cost advantage with
Yeah.
contractors,
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
Well, again, I'm just looking at it. I may be the sole one we still have yet to figure out how we're funding this project. And to me, making a decision to spend money when it doesn't buy us, it buys us a temporary fix at best. I'm having a hard time with that. So again, I may be the sole one that kind of feels that way, but I don't see why we wouldn't try to get permanent easements. And then if we hit a hurdle, we can reevaluate that decision in another month.
Yeah, I do think it would be a month lost, and you would be, it appears that we are aligning to have this project happen well in the summer. If council was to say, let's delay and do it in the fall, I think we've heard that pricing would be up. It's historically the time when communities want to do their projects. So I'm guessing if pricing goes up, the quantity of sand that the city could afford with our budget would be down. So if that was the will of council, we could certainly pivot to a slower timeframe.
Well, if you're asking if we want to delay this, I say no.
Yeah, I mean, I think ideal world, you'd have 100% permanent easements. Totally agree. Be keyed up to do a terminal groin at the end if that's what Foth Olson comes back with. But I mean, we're kind of dealing with the hand that we're dealt to some extent.
And I'm gonna have a hard time allocating money for this. I'll tell you that right now. I may be the sole one that does it, but I can't see us doing basically a repeat of what we've done in the past and expect a different result.
I'm not
at least
following.
try.
I'm not following what you're saying though. What you're to allocate money to what? A beach renourishment project?
Right. We have not figured out how we're funding this project yet. So we're talking about up and coming vote at some point of
You're either going
Making
to pay
that
cash or take a
determination.
loan.
But how do the permanent easements have, what does a permanent easement have to do with how we,
figure out in
whether the
future.
project's gonna last or not? I mean,
Yeah, I think
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling
we're
with.
going to be doing, we expect to be doing another project 8 years from now, whether
That we-
we have
that-
permanent easements or temporary easements. I can tell you, nobody would rather have permanent easements than me, to not have to deal with this every few years. So I get it, but I don't think it's going to change what you do. I mean, it's going to put the staff back through an exercise of trying to get temporary easements, and maybe the next project is the time to try to get them permanent. But it's
That's
not
what
gonna
everybody said
change.
10 years ago too, I'm thinking.
but it's not gonna change the cost and it's not gonna change the engineering. It's just gonna change whether or not staff has to go ask for easements again. I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
Because David, I'm
Yeah.
still not following you. 10 years ago, we've only done 2 projects, 08 and 18, right?
Right.
And we thought we had permanent easements up there. We found out they're temporary. So I'm still having trouble connecting the dots on what
Well,
your
I'm
concern is.
expecting from what we've seen that we're going to have to do something similar on the south end in the future.
Welcome to nature.
Right. So instead of going through this cycle each time, let's try to get permanent easements. Again, we can always come back and change our mind and accept temporary easements in their place, but without even trying, we're just kind of giving up on that path forward.
But we tried 2 years ago. An immediate and hard roadblock. So I'm not sure why that's not.
And if people don't want to give up the easements, then I question why are we renourishing the beach and saving those
I don't
properties?
disagree with you. Yeah.
Because we can establish a very nice beach on, on the right of way of Ocean Boulevard after all the houses fall in the water. That's not where I want to go with this, but if it's affordable to the city to do that, that is an option. It's not a pleasant option, but it is an option. So if we can get easements and be able to try to maintain the beach in the future, I think that's the path forward.
But David, alternatively, one of the reasons we're in the position we're in is because we just started talking about easements about a month ago instead of a year ago. And, I guess what I'd ask is, I think we've got to get through this cycle, and I think we've got to do what we can to get the beach renourishment done. We've put ourselves in this position, and we're not in an optimal position to have a time frame to get permanent easements in place. And I think that because of the performance or perceived performance or whatever you want to call it on the south end of the beach, the residents and the homeowners and the property owners down there are hesitant to just sign over property rights in their minds for eternity for a lot of different reasons. So, I mean, I'm not excited. I would love to have permanent easements as well, so we don't have to keep going through this, but we've got to build credibility. And I think we need to have a timeline to be able to work with the residents to build their trust in order to say, hey, there's no harm in this permanent easement. That's not this cycle, unfortunately, in my mind. So I don't disagree with you on getting the permanent easements. I just don't think it's a practical objective right now. And I hear why you want to pursue it. And we're in maybe a position to try that, but we will be, in my mind, unsuccessful to be able to do that right now. So I'm not as you know, I'm not an advocate of kicking the can down the road, but we are where we are because we didn't get in front of this a year ago.
Yeah, I don't agree with any of that. I mean, we were going down a path based on engineer feedback that they don't have easements in any other municipality they do a renourishment on, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah,
We got feedback that need them, so we back up and start down a fast path with staff to get easements done.
Yeah,
We've just tried.
we accelerated the project
Yeah,
a year.
we've just tried
and I-
really 2 years. 28 was when we were scheduled. So
And I just
two-
don't think a year ago, anybody would have been in a different position if we went to them and started asking them for permanent easements a year ago. We still wouldn't be in any better position.
And David, it's not been 10 years since we tried permanent easements. It's literally been 2. We're not going to get a different answer. So we're going to come back in a month after wasting a month and come back with the same answer, in my opinion. I think we need to pin our ears back and go after this and make it happen.
I think that's the only option we have this cycle.
Escrow agreement, we're ready for that?
Yep.
All right, and we have bounced around terms and really it is just an agreement with the Wild Dunes Community Association. It's an agreement that's similar to the agreement we did back in 2018. And it explains how the money would flow from the Wild Dunes Community Association to the city prior to us executing agreements and initiating these projects. This is language that, again, it started primarily with the old agreement. It has been through a legal review. Some modifications happened. It then went to the Public Facilities Committee. They had some modifications they suggested as well. So those have been looked over by the legal team, incorporated into this agreement. Next steps, this hasn't been sent to the Community Association as kind of a city endorsed project yet. Or document yet. We wanted to have this conversation with you first. If it looked generally okay directionally, we would share it with the Community Association. They will have their process to go through to review it, provide feedback to us. This is another example of we are hopeful that we can have this in an executable form by your April meeting as well.
Douglas, just to clarify, a lot of the requested changes have not made it into the agreement from our public safety and services meeting. And I don't know if, yeah.
There were a couple that didn't.
Well, the exhibits aren't here.
Oh.
The description and the quantification of what costs are supposed to be included are not here. We also had some references to dates on when the cost actually started. I don't know, Mac, were you involved in any of these conversations or anybody from your staff?
Yeah, we had a real estate lawyer firm go through this closely, and then I also went through it too and added a lot of the dispute resolution. And
Yeah, I saw that. That got in.
So, Scott,
But I guess what I'd ask is at the next meeting, can we maybe have Andrew there and an attorney and actually go through the agreement to make sure that everything that we're asking for is getting put in? And one of the, I'll give you one example. So when we talk about the city's work, and I think that's in section 2A, we talk about it, but we wanted to have to be very clear that all of the soft costs that had started, we signed a contract for our soft costs back in October, and we were going to schedule out what is actually in the 22 million or what's included in that, and we reference the city's work in here. But then when we get down to 3B, cost sharing, we talk about cost sharing of total construction costs, but it doesn't have any reference to the city's work costs that were supposed to be defined up in section 2A. So we've got inconsistencies with what the cost is that we're sharing versus what the cost is in the definition. And I think we, throughout the agreement, there are several things like this. We have a reference to owners in here, but they're not defined as far as acceptance, and just a lot of kind of cats and dogs that didn't get cleaned up. And without the exhibits and without examples of how this is going to work, I think that's a critical part of this agreement.
Yeah, so we've added reference to the exhibits that would be attached. They are the same exhibits that you all have seen already, the examples of how the 5347 was derived, how an example of a project you all have seen, and we would attach the example of the $32 million project, assuming that was the bid amount, how that would flow down. So you're right, they should have been included as attachments, but the placeholder is there, and they would be the same exhibits that you all have previously seen.
John?
Yeah. If it's going back to committee, I'll leave it to committee to come up with it. But my comment is that the most fundamental thing is how the cost is going to be shared is not explicit in here. This, specifically like section 3B, sharing percentages. I think the methodology that we all discussed is that we would take whatever the total cost of the project, including the contractor's costs, all the soft cost, total encompassing what you defined
Yep.
as cost, divided by the total amount of sand that's going to get pumped, and that would be a unit cost. Then we would take that times the amount of sand that's going to be pumped in breaches 1 and 2, and that would be, take 47% of that, and that would be our cost.
That's correct.
Contribute.
Yeah, and
And I
that
think
is,
that needs to be laid out specifically like that, and then an example of that using actual numbers, saying, not actual numbers, but some numbers to show it how it would be calculated as an exhibit should be, so that everybody's clear that when it comes time, this is how we're calculating it.
I mean, that
was a similar comment to the, and that was the
That's
new
what we
attachment.
That's what we requested, yeah.
Exhibit 3.
But section 3B should say that in words, and then the exhibit should show it in an example. And I don't read that in section 3B, so that's what I would just like to be more explicit in that. Unless you plan on putting all those words in the exhibit, then maybe that's fine too. But
The intention, John, was just what you said. We had the simple math equation based on the allocation method. We write it out. It's got to be consistent with what's included in the cost schedule. And then we show some examples in the exhibits. We didn't get that.
all right, well, I'll leave it to, again, those are my comments. But
And I guess I would ask that we get any comments, just send to Katie and the committee, I think, and we can try to incorporate.
Scott, you went down if you don't mind, while we have Mac, we're taking notes. The exhibits weren't attached. That we can take care of. The sharing percentages, 3B, we can more explicitly lay that out as John has described.
But it also refers to total construction cost. We're sharing total construction costs, but it should say total costs as identified and defined in the city's work. So it says that we're going to, we're contemplating that we're going to split all the work, but when they get into 3B, it just talks about construction costs and not the rest of the cost sharing. So it's inconsistent.
Yeah, 3B.
And then we also had we were talking about the dates. We wanted to, because there's some costs in here that are referred to as, because they were precedent to the signing of the agreement, they're not going to be included. But I think that has to do with sandbag removal. But I think we wanted to be explicit that the contract that we've signed, that we've already incurred costs on, like for the training, consulting, and other costs that are already being incurred, those are the soft costs that we want to make sure get in the sharing arrangement. So that's all got to get taken care of. And then there was a reference to something about owner, can't remember exactly where that was. Owner acceptance, but it doesn't.
That was in paragraph 5.
That probably is a holdover from the.
It says owner's acceptance is where it probably should be the city's acceptance of the contract.
Yep, I think that's a carryover from the.
David, yeah.
These were quick because I think most of my comments got covered already. Was paragraph 2C on the 5th sentence. It references 4A, and that should be probably 2A.
Yes, you're right.
I think Scott kind of covered my other one was taking out the word construction in 3B, plus I guess the other changes. And I did question why the not to exceed 12 million was included, because I think that kind of limits them, that the option is if it comes up higher than that, it would be a discussion that it could go over that if Wild Dunes wants to continue.
That's correct.
Additional sand. So I didn't think there was any reason to limit them to 12 million.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, I think we would. And we've talked, Andrew and I have talked about the if neither one of us wanted to give the indication that we could commit to more than what's kind of already been committed. So that's the rationale for having a cap. If the bids come in and one of us or both of us want to exceed what's in the stated cap, that you'll have that opportunity in the April meeting to adjust the language based on what council's decision and what the community association's decision is to actually fund. So we did know that that potentially could change down the road.
Yeah,
I
and
think that was it. I think everything else I had was already mentioned.
Yeah, we can talk about it at the committee meeting, but the city exclusive costs where we talk about that, if we have the allocation, I'm not sure
What's
why.
your-
that-
what's your
I'm sorry, it's
letter?
on 3D, the city exclusive costs. If we have the methodology and everything, I'm just not, this is like I'm not sure why this is in here, but we can talk about that later.
So is this getting kicked back to committee then? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
Okay.
So do you want to hold, I do think the community association is tracking the draft comments. Are you all okay? I think Andrew's here. He hears that it's still being worked on. If we kind of formally share that with him, have them start their review.
I think it would be helpful to have him at the meeting if he's up for it.
We'll talk to Andrew about that.
Douglas, you want to keep rocking?
Yes. I got too many papers. Yes, update on easement process. I think we've covered that. Update on the Army Corps project. We have, I think all of you have been made very aware of the material that they have encountered. This is specifically the OTNA work. We thought that it could be the Cottrell work, which is they're taking the material out of the intercoastal floor. We visited the site, talked with them again today. We had heard reports that it was as far north as 6th Avenue. While we did see some material that wasn't great around there, it was very, very minimal. So the bulk of this material that's concerning is in the 3rd to 2nd block and area. We have reported and we've received numerous complaints about the material and have made the Army Corps aware of that. They've responded to us that they have directed the contractor to move away from that part of that area that had that material and to move the material that had been pumped out in below the low water line to help it dissipate. We were down there today. They were actively doing that, but it did not look good by any stretch. So, we've been hearing that the kind of crux of the issue is this is a federal project. It is not a city project. We don't have control over that project. We have always kind of internally looked at the importance of that partnership with the Army Corps. And I think we kind of knew that there would be, they made it clear that there would be what they call silty material, and they would try to address that as best they can. It's unfortunate that here at the very, I think, kind of end of the road with them, we're having this material show up. In terms of timing, we're being told that Cottrell, the group that was doing the intercoastal, is maybe about a week away, and OTNA, the operation who has been here for now well over a year, is several weeks away. They say they will be off the island before the end of March. So both of their projects are wrapping up. And it's, again, I think it is a shame that we've had this happen at the end of the project. But there's not a ton of control there's not any control we have over that project.
We can't stop them?
Right.
We just say we don't want it anymore?
Council probably could do that.
I mean, I don't know if they're reaching a point that they're putting stuff on the beach that is not, I mean, it makes it an unrecreational beach, but it's also potentially damaging to the beach long term. I don't know why we would want them to continue to do that if they say they can't get us quality sand. They said silt, not mud. And they're pumping clay on the beach.
They're
Yeah.
rocks.
I mean, understand that the intercoastal stuff is better. It's not mud, but coming out of the pit over there, it seems like we've really got some bad stuff. I don't know why we wouldn't just stop them. Then when you can start pumping good sand back on it, we'll take it, but we don't want mud.
This has been going on for weeks. And there's no oversight. from-
No, it's not our project.
But it's our beach.
It's,
I mean,
yes, I get that.
So, and you know, the description of it, these are huge clay balls that they're picking up. I mean, literally, there's probably millions of these things now. It's not just a couple of mud balls on the beach. They're big clay balls. I'm happy to, I know you've seen them.
Yeah, I was down there today.
It's up to 6th Avenue. And they're literally at night taking them up in the bucket loads and they're just dumping them into the tide. And they've been doing that now for days or weeks. And do they have a permit? I would imagine they got a permit.
Um,
And they're
I would
not,
assume so. I would
candidly,
assume.
they're not allowed, they shouldn't be doing this. And they should be cleaning it up. They're just dumping it. You say that stuff's going to dissolve away, Doug. It's not going to dissolve. That stuff's out there.
Yeah, that's, I am not an expert on silt or clay or mud. It's what I've been told that it will dissipate. I don't know that for certain.
So how do we, I mean, are we okay with this? Because the permits basically say that if something like this is occurring, the Army Corps or anybody should stop immediately and they should clean it up.
Douglas, when was your last conversation with project manager? Maybe then.
Maybe yesterday. Yeah, it's frequent. Yeah, we had correspondence yesterday. Yeah. It's constant. And I don't know, Scott. I mean, I don't know if the state can regulate the feds when it comes to that. I don't know.
I'm looking at a DSA regulation and it says sand used must consist of appropriate grain sizes, quality and color, and be compatible for beach renourishment. If muddy sediments or excessive coarse sediments, parentheses, rocks, large shell fragments, etc., are observed while sand is being placed on the beach, dredging of that portion of the barrows or area must be terminated immediately and the dredge must be moved to another location.
Yeah, I just don't know if that's their permit. I don't know if their permit.
This is a South Carolina critical area permitting regulation. I think it should apply to anybody. I hope it would apply to the Army Corps.
I can just tell you, the city cannot regulate the federal government when it comes to zoning.
Can we
can't-
get some help on this then?
Can we contact DES and ask them?
They're well aware. Yeah,
They are.
Yeah.
And what is their,
I have not heard or seen of any enforcement action on them. I will certainly ask tomorrow if they
I'm just
have.
confused because we authorize them to pump the sand there. So why can't we unauthorize them to pump the sand there? I mean, I don't get this.
I mean, you've asked them, supposedly they're moving their dredge, right? To a better area.
Yes. They
Pipes to-
indicated that they moved the pipe to it. They stopped pumping that area. They moved the pipe to a new area with better material. I don't know. It wasn't clear to me that the material that I saw coming out today was better than probably what it was 4 or 5 days ago.
Shouldn't we ask them to stop until we get somebody on board here that can take a look at this stuff and find out, do we need to clean it up? Is this going to be a permanent damage to the beach? And why would we continue to, it's been going on for 3 weeks. Why would we continue to spew this clay into our waterway? It is ruining the recreational beach. And I guess I'll ask council that. Shouldn't we do something about this?
Yes. I mean, it's supposed to be a beneficial use project, right? This is not benefiting us at all
Yeah,
that I see right now.
The only downside of that I am aware of is I think it's very possible that future Army Corps projects would not happen on the Isle of Palms. And maybe that is the council has had an experience that they don't want to have those future projects, but they have indicated to us that projects like the project that Cottrell did that appears to be much better sand, done quickly, could be done as frequently as every 2 years. We talked about the sand quantity problem we have on that end of the beach. We also looked at revenue projections that we don't have enough money to cover the needed sand that we expect to need on that end of the beach. So I think we would be potentially severing a partnership.
They're
that
two
could-
unrelated issues. I mean, one is that they're pumping, it's Aetna, is it? Is that what? Okay,
Aetna
this
is
this is the contractor that Jacob said that they've been having issues with since the beginning of the relationship. And for some reason, they're still here, and they're the ones that are pumping this discharge onto our beaches.
I guess to me, I don't know why it would ruin a relationship to say we don't want mud pumped on our beach. I mean, any logical person would look at that and say, that's not good. I mean, you did. You said
Yeah,
this isn't
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I'm not.
And so they should look at it and say, you know what, that's not good. I ought to stop it, but they're not doing it. So we ought to say, you know what, stop it. And if that ruins a relationship, maybe we don't need that relationship.
Who is this?
I mean,
who is-
it's pretty common sense to me.
Who are we
I don't
talking
get
to?
this.
When you say I talked to them yesterday,
The Army Corps project manager.
and that is an Army Corps person that is in charge of both
Correct.
dredgers.
Correct.
And is this person seen the beach?
Yes. Yeah. He's had,
And does he agree that it's bad?
yes.
So it's his project. I mean, this project is being run by the Army Corps. So this is like, he's like the developer.
Project manager.
Project
right.
manager over the contractors. And he can't,
Well,
Fix
so he is having them move their where they're dredging from, and he's had them move the pipe out to being farther out below the low water line, and he's moving, they are bulldozing the silt, as they call it, out to an area below the water line. That's been their solution to the issue.
But they're still actively pumping sand as they're doing that.
Yes,
Okay, from the same area.
yes,
So which end of the pipe did they move? Just the discharge pipe?
both ends.
It sounds to me like what they've done, and I mean, I saw them move the pipe out. They were just getting it out, and they were dumping the mud and the clay in an area we just barely couldn't see it. So it's almost like they're building our mud groin out there. Are they going to clean this up?
I think their solution now is to push it out below the water line.
So I wonder if it's worth another Army Corps conversation tomorrow. Give council feedback.
Is Cottrell fine? Cottrell's doing okay, right?
Yes.
They've got quality. Then why don't we just ask them to shut the other one down? I mean, I don't know how that ruins a relationship. I think it just, is it Jacob that you're talking to?
Yes.
If Jacob thinks it's a problem, we've got a real cleanup issue on our beach right now. It's
Well-
not a small thing. And if they're just putting this up in dumps and dumping it out into the water, that's just relocating the problem. It's a permanent problem. So, I guess I would ask that they stop that one contractor until we figure out what we can do about it. But to keep pumping that onto our beach is not what we should be doing.
Yeah, it may be that we can, I think by their estimation, Aetna is there for 2 more weeks. So maybe we just say, hey, if what we have left, maybe they've done enough. Maybe the Army Corps can deal with 2 less weeks of clearing out their spoils area. I have to think that they have 95% of the material out. So maybe they would be agreeable.
So
Okay,
they're
down.
incentivized to dump this stuff because it's coming out of their spoiler. Is that what I'm hearing?
That was
The
The Army Corps,
project has
yeah.
always been to,
But they also told us it was going to be beach compatible sand.
well, they were very honest with us and told us there would be some material better than others, and the material that's not great, we would put out into the water. They've always been, every meeting they've had with us, they've made that crystal clear.
Well, I guess the definition of not great and what we're saying is I wouldn't put that even in the not great category. This is not even close to being beach compatible. They shouldn't be putting it on our beach.
Yeah, and I think they would say, if it's not beach sand, it should be out in the waterway.
So what about a conversation with Army Corps tomorrow? Council feedback, if they can't guarantee that they're going to get back to some level of beach quality sand, then we
Ask
them to stop.
Well, in my opinion, part of the problem is that they're really not monitoring it, or they're monitoring it, seeing that it's not beach compatible and saying, oh, well, just keep pumping. You know, I don't know if they moved the dredge then once you told them, you know what I mean? But if that project manager is out there, he should see it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they should stop now.
I don't know if we need a motion or a vote on it, but I think we should go there to the project manager at Army Corps and tell them we don't want any more mud pumped on the beach. And if they can't guarantee or get us good sand, then we don't want it anymore.
Then I think you
And
make a motion.
if you see it pumping sand, mud, you stop.
Yeah,
We don't
I mean,
want any more mud.
Yeah, I just think that's the conversation with Army Corps tomorrow.
I think we should be clear about this. I think we should make a motion that if we cannot be ensured that we're going to get beach compatible sand on our beach, then they should desist pumping whatever they're pumping on our beach.
I think we need to have a conversation with them first before we do something radical.
Why have we not had that? I mean, I feel like we've had that conversation
And they've
For the
moved the
last
dredge, yeah.
3 weeks. It doesn't seem like the conversations that we're having are being very successful. And I don't know why that is.
I don't know, does anybody here agree that we ought to keep pumping mud on the beach?
No.
I mean, but
If not,
I
then
don't
we ought
know.
to tell them to
has-
stop.
At the same time, does anybody know, has anyone actually done an analysis on this material to determine what it is and where it's going to go and where it's settling and what, I mean, do we have anybody on our behalf looking at this to say that this is good or bad, or are we just like closing our eyes and hoping for the best? I mean,
Well, that was kind of why I was asking about, like, if DES was aware of this. Again, I mean, I don't know if this is normal for this type of activity, and we're seeing something midstream and don't know what it's going to turn out to be. Or, yeah, I'm like you, I don't know if this is good or bad, and is this normal for this type of activity? And what will it look like, 3 months from now?
Been around for years.
so
But I don't know who you would
Yeah, I
ask
can't.
other than the Corps or DES.
It sounds like they don't have an effective process that they go through to evaluate what's actually being pumped on the beach day to day. That somebody's not really looking at that. They've told us repeatedly that there may be some of this material that comes up that's not beach compatible, that's not going to be good sand. And I mean, I don't know where we go from here. I don't think a state agency is going to step in and do anything, but with the federal government. And I think if we're not careful, we're going to sever a potential relationship with the Army Corps of Engineers that we may need in the future.
But I mean, if they told us that they were going to give us X and they're giving us Y, then we can't just, I mean, let's just pretend that this was something terrible, like it was oil, just to make this ridiculous. But an example, I mean, then we would have to stop them, and that's, I don't know enough about this material to know if this is 10 years from now, if it's going to turn into wonderful, typical Isle of Palm sand, or if it's going to go into Breach Inlet, or if it's going to still be sitting here like a rock. I mean, I don't know that, but I would think that somebody who does this for a living would be able to tell us more information.
10 million of these we could build a growing.
You got it. You got it. And my issue isn't that we're going to get occasional spew come out of the pipe. It's that we're not doing anything about it after 3 weeks.
I do think, and this is just my opinion, I think they are trying to get that material seaward of the low water line. I believe what's happening is the way, it's getting moved around, it's getting pushed back up. So we see tractor treads pushing it out, and then we see rollers in. So I don't think they're not doing anything. I think it's probably maybe not effective. And it's material that they told us they would put below the water line. And I think at this point it's worse than what we had anticipated.
They've had a long time relationship with Folly Beach. I wonder if this happens on a routine basis over there.
Yeah.
Well,
Does it?
They get
Well,
regular dredge material.
I was gonna say,
They don't get-
they're going offshore, not spoil site.
And we have definitely dealt with pockets of rollers, they call them, but I don't think anything like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they started coming up on the 2018, and I think they just moved the source, and it was taken care of. Yeah. All right.
I guess the question is, at what point is beneficial use not beneficial?
Yeah.
So to me, you got to have that conversation before we take a vote of any kind, to me. I mean, that's where I'm at.
I think you give Army Corps feedback tomorrow on where this council is, and
So I guess the easiest is they say, we're close enough to finish, we'll wrap it up. No hard feelings, we'll go our separate ways. Maybe another possible thing that happens is they say, okay, that was another bad cell, we'll move to
we can
this
guarantee you,
cell.
yeah.
Maybe they say, we have been putting it just seaward of the low water mark. We'll put it a quarter mile out to sea. You want me to just see what their solution is, report it back? And
Yeah, I
If
mean,
it's-
that's okay, except that if their answer is anything remotely close that we're going to continue to pump these things on the beach, whether you like it or not, I don't want to wait another month of this stuff coming on the beach. So we would, somehow we're going to have to take some action if that's the answer. I mean, to me, I don't want this stuff on the beach anymore. So they got to find a solution, whether it's pumping it out, quitting, doing whatever. But it can't be an answer. Yeah, we're going to continue to put this stuff on the beach.
Can we also ask Jacob one more thing? Can we have somebody watch what's going on a daily basis? So we're the quality control. It's either a resident, it's a visitor, it's a property owner, it's me on the beat. I mean,
I will say they are, and it's not Jacob. Jacob is the engineer in the office, but they do have a team of Army Corps observers
On-site,
that are, I think, daily seeing the work. They've had a lot of issues with ATNA, and those observers have seen those. And I mean, it's not that it's going undetected. I mean, there are definitely a lot of Army Corps people at play and involved with the project. It just so happens that Jacob is the engineer in the office that we interface with. And he's aware of it. So we're going to reach out. We'll just let you know. Do you all, I guess it would be hard for me to anticipate what the response is going to be. I guess if it's to John's point, I think I've heard if the solution is we're not doing anything, we need to keep pumping, I would then figure out how to sever the relationship.
I think it's just the one contractor, though. The other contractor's doing fine.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Well,
And
that's
they'll be
the other
done
thing.
in a
And
week.
they've admitted to having problems with them ever. Like, I don't know. I mean, if a general contractor's having this many issues with a sub, I don't think they'd let them just keep, it's like the sub is running the show.
Well,
I mean,
this
Are
is
we
the,
afraid of this,
This
these
federal
people?
government.
this is really not a problem with Aetna in that the material is bad. Army Corps has directed them to clear out the spoils area, and this material is in that area. So Aetna has definitely not been good, but this is a product of the material they've been paid to move.
Douglas, next, update and discussion of the wage and compensation study. I don't know that there's a lot here because this is still in committee at this
Yes,
point.
it is still in committee. I think you all have been provided with their first solution file is what they call it. We still are waiting. We have received fire. We're waiting for 4 neighboring communities to give us their information. We have it for just fire for Colleton County now. So we're still continuing to get information from our neighbors. Evergreen will be at the admin committee this in
Next
March, planning to be at your workshop / Ways and Means meeting as well. But we are still continuing to work on this and put this information together for you.
Questions? Comments? Thank you, Douglas. Next item, discussion, consideration of beach ad hoc committee recommendations. This came out of our strategic plan meeting. You've got an attachment in your packet. There are just a handful of items that need some type of council direction, and I would suggest, waiting and having a conversation once Foth Olson gets their recommendations back to us to kind of wrap all this together, but that's just an idea.
Should we also have the new beach committee look at these as well, or?
I mean, most of them are down literally to council action. The ones that are in yellow, we certainly can. Those haven't, I think this has been shared with them already
Yeah,
too, right?
Yes, and we do know that they will be heavily engaged with the results of the Foth Olson analysis that's happening, and the two probably do dovetail together.
So I was confused.
shared with
Yeah.
Douglas, is what was in our packet, has that already been discussed by the beach committee?
No,
Already?
they've only had their one
Okay.
meeting. So they've been provided a lot of information, just background information for their awareness. They have not discussed this.
So will they be discussing these recommendations then, or are they going to review them again, or no?
They certainly could, yes.
I mean, I think the plan was just to tackle the ones that are in yellow that are still outstanding, that need some kind of council direction
For that committee too, or for council?
for council. But I mean, if we're going to decide together to do Foth Olson and kind of get the whole package together, I mean, that can certainly stay at that committee level.
Yeah, and really whatever there are there, but there's been a lot of discussion around the 250-foot hard erosion prohibition in the city's code. That's one that probably council is closest to and would have that's going to be an emotional tough conversation that probably is a council level discussion. The emergency work, I mean, that's purely a finance question in my mind. Hopefully we'll be out of the window of emergency work for several years. And I do think the idea of emergency work could potentially be, if there were solutions offered about geotubes, other type of things, that may impact the emergency work as well. Full-time employee, that's one that has been working through the admin committee, and I think that's been pushed to full council for a budgeting discussion with all of the pressure on the budget of either shifting that money or pausing on that.
So when will we discuss that through the budget head count process then?
Yes.
All right,
Yep.
great.
Raising revenue, I mean, to me, that's
Council.
that's a council. The last one, the cost sharing plan, we're I think almost through that for at least the near future. Keep going.
Next is discussion of upcoming town hall meeting. This is set for March 26th at 5 o'clock at the rec center. So while that's set up, Bev, you had asked to
Yeah.
put this out for conversation.
Yeah, I thought we needed a discussion at the council level just as to what we envision this town hall to be. I'll give you my 2 cents and you can either blow it up or change it. But it really is an opportunity for residents. So I'm not envisioning any presentations. It really isn't. It's more of a conversation that we can't have during council meetings because, they can give their public comment and then we go on to next item, and rightfully so. I'm not suggesting changing that, but because we are conducting an official meeting. So this is an opportunity for residents to come and ask questions. They can give their opinion. It is civil discourse. I would envision there would be a facilitator. Douglas, you're off the hook.
I was planning on the mayor, but I'm happy to have it.
Mayor's off the hook. Mayor's on the hot seat. Mayor's off the hook. But I would envision that it would be a facilitator. And, we have such talent in this community. I think we can find a good facilitator. Facilitator would set the tone for the event. I participated in these. They can be very successful if the rules are set out at the beginning and you have a good facilitator. But it's a very, I don't want to call it casual, but it is a casual conversation, good discourse. And, I find that a lot of residents might ask, what's your opinion on XYZ? What do you, where do you stand on this issue or whatever? And we'll be up there. They can address it to all. They can address it to some. Whoever wants to take a question takes it. Just a very good conversation, kind of like coffee with the mayor, but you have conversation with the council, kind of, sort of.
Other comments or opinions?
Any idea on who we would select as a neutral moderator for this? Or the process that we would use?
Gotta go and see.
Yeah.
He's out.
I don't know. I would be afraid to throw out names now.
No,
because
I'm not.
they'll never
I'm not
pick up
asking
our
for
phone
names
call.
now, but you want somebody who truly is neutral. You want
Right.
someone who can command the respect of the crowd, keep things going, keep things in line, keep things on time, and make sure that we do have respectful conversation and dialogue back and forth. So, I mean, that's, and Bev, to your earlier statement, we have a lot of people on this island that probably could, that could handle something like that, or we could go outside and get someone, I'm just Riley Institute, whatever, but we ought to give that some thought. I mean, if we're going to have a town hall, we really ought to make this first town hall one that's meaningful, impactful, and something worthy of us continuing to do on a quarterly basis or semi-annual, however we choose to do it. And I don't know who makes that decision, who makes those nominations, or how we go about doing it. But
Have you all been satisfied with the meet the candidates?
That's what I was going to say.
Moderators?
Moderators. From
That was
other-
when we were kind of just tossing around ideas. They were the ones that we knew of. All of them been
one
okay?
for the beach committee. What are you talking about?
No,
Candidate-
no.
candidate forum.
It's like for the League of
Oh.
Women Voters.
Yeah.
I can't
You mean
remember
like
his
a Lynn
name,
Parati
or
or something?
Lynn Parati. has done-
Lynn,
Yeah.
Brandon.
I think Lynn or Brandon would be, I mean, are they acceptable or?
those be okay. Those were on our list of potentials.
I think it depends on if they want it, if they'd be interested in doing it.
Right.
Be some entertainment with Lynn too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
might do
Jimmy,
it.
sorry.
Whoever it is, I just hope it doesn't end up being patterned after these congressmen's town halls we've seen in the past year or so. And, we need to have some safeguards in place to where it doesn't turn into something ugly and something that we would regret, and shouting matches and things like that. And some rules of the road need to be established to keep it civil.
I think that's why a moderator would be.
Yeah.
the right
Well, he
path.
needs to know that.
Exactly.
And we can set that
Chief,
expectation.
So noted, pal.
Let him know what we expect.
We've
Mark-
had
mark your calendar.
Moderators on the school board, and things can get very tense on school boards when you're dealing with people's kids and things like that. And sometimes what we've done is had it in a bigger space, and instead of having y'all up front the whole time, having one or two council members in different areas of the room to kind of discuss issues, so that every person that can attend has time to speak to each council member, et cetera. And that typically tones everything down when you're having one-on-one or smaller conversations.
Which I think is how this started out, as a round table and kind of let council members sit wherever.
I just think it's important we plan ahead and make sure it doesn't descend into chaos.
And I do think with the right facilitator or moderator, that can be done.
Yeah.
How do you feel about live? Do you have so Bev has answered a lot of the staff's questions in terms of, we see it both ways with topics being kind of, going through individual topics, but I think also see it where there is no topic, there's no presentation, there's no, so happy to do it that way. Also see it where you have to be present. Have also seen it where you could ask for questions beforehand so that the moderator can kind of say, okay, we got 6 questions related to the beach or whatever the issue is. Do you all have an opinion about if they come in, if we start soliciting questions beforehand?
I think that's fine. I mean, and then,
A mix? Are we thinking a mix of?
do a combination of that, then those that come can ask a question and.
We felt that some may not be able to make it, and it would be an opportunity to be able to say, if you can't make it, send in a question. Obviously, not going to be able to get to all of them, but maybe kind of coalesce the similar ones.
And some people might feel more comfortable sending it in instead of getting up on a mic or something. Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. And I like
it.
look, this is about what on the resident's mind.
And I thought you were headed down a path too. Is you planning to live stream or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. We would planning to have AV equipment down there to live stream it.
Would there be any requirements for attendance? Is it just residents only? How about property owners?
Had not anticipated having any limits on who could attend.
So it's kind of like citizens' comments. Anybody can speak to that.
If a question is asked and someone wanted to ask a follow-up though, like, in response to the answer, I mean, would we be okay with that? Or,
So if somebody,
right.
I mean, I do think I see that you don't want to allow, like somebody can kind of get to where they're monopolizing the mic if you allow it to happen. So I think it's kind of typically you can ask your question and then the next there'll be a response if there is a response, but then we'd go to the next person to avoid the back and forth.
That's a good idea.
I think that's what the moderator hopefully.
Yeah. If they see it's getting pointed, but yeah.
But if there needs to be like a
one more,
specification or something
Yeah.
that's, misunderstood. Or,
Within
I mean, I think again, the moderator should have a
Yeah.
little bit of leeway
to do that.
Yeah.
And I think if there are other names that council may have as moderator, just shoot them to Douglas
Yeah.
or Sean and they can take it from there. See who's available.
Get her out.
Bev, you good?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. New business discussion and consideration of bid appeal order. You recall this is from our meeting a couple of weeks ago. Council was provided from Max Firm with the draft order. I would entertain a motion to accept as presented by our legal counsel.
So moved. Second.
Questions, comments, edits? Mac, I think we're within our time frame. It was 20 days. I think we had to get this out.
20 days.
That's right. Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Next, this also came out of our strategic planning session a couple of months ago. Discussion and consideration of appointing a council liaison to the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee. I think we've used liaisons in the past. Specifically, we started with the Environmental Advisory Committee just to get them propped up and kind of some good guidance and direction. I don't know that it was intention to always have a liaison for these new committees, just like we have with the Beach Committee at this point. So I'll just open it up for comments or thoughts. ATAX has been around for a long time, so.
Well, they're the only income committee that I know of that's appointed that specifically deals with money. And I'd like to, keep them independent as possible without any, influence from council.
Well, I would have thought that this liaison is much like the liaisons that we have on the other committees, like on the
Well,
beach
and that-
preservation, if
That
you
was my
will.
point. It was just to prop them up and get them started.
Yeah, well,
forever.
but also, I mean, I see it, maybe wrongly so, but I see it that a liaison is there, to, if they have a question on something that maybe they were going down a path, but the council person knows that, council is looking at this next month or something. They're not there to vote with them. They're not there to sway them either to either side or whatever they're discussing, but they are there to be there as a resource if needed. That's how I see a liaison. And then reporting back here if they need to, but that might be taking it a step further.
So that's where I kind of saw it was just having at least a council person there to ensure that they're on track with the consent of council, or if a question comes up, that it can be brought back to council, or at least, volunteer that maybe that is something that council needs to weigh in on. So that's kind of where I thought that position was, more of take some of it off of Doug to keeping up with every committee.
But I mean, staff would still be involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, the staff would continue to be involved
Yeah.
anyway, like you are on the other committees, whether it be you or Sean.
Yeah.
All likely, or maybe other reports.
Yeah. I don't see the need for this one personally. This one's been around so long. Like I say, the environmental and the beach, I think needed the prop, but that's just my opinion. Jimmy.
Well, if you look at the makeup of that committee, it's where retired council members go to die. Pretty much. That's you serve, you've been up here, then you go there. I mean, I was on it for 10 years and Barb's on it right now. She probably had 2 to 3 terms experience. But they still want to be involved. The point I'm making, these people are very knowledgeable and experienced about what's going on. It's not like they're neophytes. They're very experienced and very knowledgeable. So
There's not a legal issue, because you don't want council members interacting with the BZA or a quasi judicial body where they're picking winners and losers and those sort of things. This is the ATAX committee is simply an advisory committee that makes recommendations ultimately to council. And so you can't have council members on it. Kiowa, one of their council members, chairs their ATAX committee. I think Seabrook has a council member that's on theirs too. So there's also ones that are totally independent. So it's a policy decision. It's up to y'all. From a legal standpoint, there's no issue with it, given their advisory role.
Right, it's just advisory, so you're not adding, you're not a member of that committee. Just, it's a resource.
Somebody wants or needs to make a motion, make it.
I will make a motion to appoint a council liaison to the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee.
Second.
So
All those in favor say aye.
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 Nay.
nay.
Oh.
Show of hands.
All those in favor, please
Gotcha. Next item, discussion and consideration of acceptance of a patrol vehicle donation. Douglas or Chief? Or
Yeah, this is and Chief, I don't know if you want to chime in here, but this is a resident has reached out to us and is interested in donating a vehicle. It's the vehicle is a Tesla. There would be some upfitting costs. There would be additional challenges with charging it, but we do think that it could be put to good use. It could offset a different vehicle that would keep the city from having to buy a future vehicle. So we think it would be a good asset to have, but we didn't want to accept a vehicle into the fleet without having the blessing of council to do that. So we asked that the owner write a letter of intention on donations. They've provided it for us here, and it's here for your consideration.
Is this for a patrol car or for?
I think it would be a detective's car.
After spending some time in it today with a gun belt on, it is not going to be a patrol car. It will be administrative, either to a detective or somebody who works in the administrative role, like a command staff, and that would cycle that patrol vehicle to a patrol officer or to another individual to offset the purchase next year.
Okay. Thanks. That's helpful.
And this is a resident, I think he said, Douglas, in my opinion.
And the charging, we don't have a.
We actually, when we purchased the Polaris gyms for parking enforcement in the past, we had the charging, the plug installed in our garage to be able to charge 2 of them.
Oh.
So it's actually parked in there charging right this moment.
Oh, good. Because that can be expensive.
Yeah. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any other questions, comments?
Say thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Scholl. I'm not going to try to say the last name.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yep.
In the previous discussion on a new business about the appointing a council liaison to accommodations advisory committee, when will that be done? I mean, it was approved. Is there a time that would be, someone would be appointed, and how would that happen?
I don't know. They meet as needed, I think, primarily monthly, but
Their next meeting is March 11th.
John's leaving the room, so I'll say it real quick. I think whoever the Explorer Charleston designee is off of council plays the same role personally.
He regrets his
Might
vote.
change your vote now,
He
Mike.
regrets his vote in favor.
He might have something to say.
Yeah, I mean,
That just kind of makes sense to me.
yeah, load them up on committees.
Discussion and consideration of changes to tuition reimbursement policy. You have a memo from Janice in your packet. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Douglas, any comments here before?
Yeah, I would just say that we have the city does have an extremely generous tuition reimbursement policy. We are hopeful that we would dial this benefit back a bit with the idea that we could maybe offer different benefits that we'll be talking about through the budgeting process. So don't expect that this would generate a savings, but it has been problematic. I think we've only really had one person kind of abuse it, got a very generous reimbursement, and then left prior to satisfying what is in our policy as a may need to pay it back. We've had somebody not pay it back, leave instantly upon getting the reimbursement paid. We're now having a challenge in getting that reimbursement from them. So kind of dual purpose, hopefully spread around the incentives to something other than this, but also help us not be in a situation where somebody has left us after receiving this benefit.
Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Nicole, not to keep going backwards, but do you want to vote? Do we need a vote on the ATAX representative just to solidify?
Well, someone needs to make an appointment or make a motion to appoint that person. And so there needs to be a motion.
Not amending the first vote.
Well, you did this. you voted to
Establish it.
have- To establish it, correct. This is the.
Did you come back? Their motion.
Well, I'm going to make a motion to appoint David Cohen as the liaison.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Came back just in time, pal. Next item, discussion and consideration of the purchase of turnout gear for $29,707.87 from Safe Industries. You see our budget and where it's coming from. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Douglas, I mean, anything that is budgeted, it's under budget. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank
Only
you.
thing I would add, there will be additional purchases made out of this account. So this is not all of the equipment that was anticipated under that budget. So more to come under that line item.
Sorry, Douglas. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
Next item, boards and commission reports, council committee reports are attached, Board of Zoning Appeals are attached, planning commissions are attached, ATAX, no meeting in February, Environmental Advisory Committee minutes are attached, Beach Preservation Committee minutes are attached. And I know we talked about having the chairpersons talk through all the minutes, but in the interest of time, again, can we?
Forego.
Next month?
Yeah.
Say it again, Scott.
Forego.
Yes, that. Next item, ordinances, resolutions, and petitions. Second reading, none. 3 items for first reading, that is by title only. Ordinance 2026-01, and ordinance creating a standing Ways and Means Committee. Is there a motion?
Make a motion, waive the reading.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, ordinance 2026-02, an ordinance to regulate residential lighting. Is there a motion to approve?
I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules of order to discuss this item.
This residential lighting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
A second.
Do we need to put it on the floor first? I'm going to put it on the floor first,
Yeah.
and then suspend the rules of order.
Motion to approve.
Okay, yeah,
Waive
you're right.
reading.
So you bring it up.
Myers is making the motion to approve.
And waive reading. Well, or I guess we don't want to.
Yeah, it's just
Right, I
title.
want to waive reading. Who wants to second the motion to put it on the floor?
I'll second it.
Okay. Now we're going to say that.
All those in,
The board made a motion to suspend the rules of order to allow discussion. Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second that
David,
one.
second, yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Calling Matt to help me with this. There's a lot of interest on this ordinance. And the next one, a lot of interest in the residents I've talked with and stuff. And I would just like some of the languages, like lawyer speak, and would just like to ask some layman questions that maybe you could answer.
Sure.
There seem to be there's a lot of stuff that is already applicable to with the turtles and protecting the turtles from lights and all that. And everybody's all in favor of that. That's not the question. But does this specifically prohibit accent or decorative lighting that's shining from the ground up into like oak trees and palmetto trees on private property?
At certain levels, yes.
Say it again, Ken.
At certain levels, yes.
Yeah, I think it kind of
But-
depends on the particular situation.
But most of the actual decorative lighting is below the,
Because the only addition is this section, is the
That's
red
correct.
lines at the end of the
Right.
ordinance. Says outdoor lighting on
5418.
residential. Yeah, so it's outdoor lighting on residential structures must be shielded so that light is directed downward and does not shine directly onto any natural,
And there is
There's a type.
missing the word area there.
natural area, including the intercoastal waterway, marsh, or other natural areas. Nothing in this section would prevent lighting on a dock for safety purposes. Outdoor lighting on residential structures shall not shine directly into the yard or window of adjacent residential uses.
So there's the question that I brought up, doesn't address that at all. It's not going to affect decorative lighting in people's yards,
Or like uplighting.
uplighting.
This deals with outdoor lighting on residential structures. So I think if you have landscape lighting, that would not be on a residential structure, that would be in your yard.
How about those lights that, those hanging lights that people put on their structure?
Those are lower than the, this is really, the intent of this was to get at, I mean, interestingly, the intent of this was that if you look at us compared to like Ollie and all the other islands around here, we're lit up like a Christmas tree. And so, but excuse me, the cafe lights and the landscape lighting, that was not, the intent of this was really, I mean, it got toned down considerably. But the intent was like the spotlights that people, to prevent someone from having a spotlight that's shining.
So floodlights on a home.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the answer to the question, if I'm hearing you correctly, it does not affect decorative and accent lighting that people have on so many homes in their yards on the island.
Correct.
It does not affect them at all.
So yeah, these are lights that are on residential structures is what this new section is.
Right. So the uplighting from the ground on trees and things, will not be prohibited.
As I read this, no.
They will not be prohibited.
Yeah, you're correct.
What about string lighting? Like,
That's not.
no.
It says on residential structures.
Well, I mean, like it's attached to.
No, that wasn't the intent, and that's also, I don't think, the letter of the law either.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah. I think to Katie's point,
And I thought there was,
so what?
had some sort of,
So what happened here is they
Lumens.
started with a very full-blown, pretty comprehensive ordinance. They came, I think, to a workshop, talked with council, and I think it was made clear to them that it was a little too far-reaching, a little overly complex. So the intent was to, as Katie said, not have lighting shine onto your neighbors or shine onto
natural areas.
like the woods. Or there were things in there about how many foot candles would equate to not shining. But if you think about if your neighbor has a little candle, it's not shining onto your property. I don't think anybody would. And so that was the key term, was that it either be shielded or it not shine onto your neighbor or not shine onto natural areas. Their intent would be that there would be a complement, more comprehensive document that would be given out with building permits that would provide all of the foot candles and lumens and temperature Kelvin ratings and all of that kind of super specific stuff as guidance to guide you towards compliance. And that would be the document that would spell out, that a little dim light and a fairy light or a landscaping light that's illuminating a tree is not problematic. It is those floodlights that are, an example is given of floodlights on the corner, every corner of your building that are shining into your neighbor's windows or shining into the woods or shining into natural areas. So that would be, again, kind of given more detail in the partner document to be handed out with building permit.
Yeah, I mean, just like in a very non-scientific way, like a cafe light, you can see it from a distance, but it's not shining like a flashlight. And that's what the intent of this was, to prevent the actual, the light, the ray of light coming into another person's property or outside of your own property. I think that's.
A lot of people were concerned about safety issues and they wanted lights around their house when it's dark, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be an issue.
Yes,
The uplighting is not prohibited.
Yeah.
Landscaping lights, like going to a sidewalk from a driveway, that will not be prohibited. And uplighting is not prohibited.
Yeah, so some of the examples that were talked about, and Jimmy, you're kind of hitting on them, are people do like their security lights. If you have bright security lights, those would need to be shielded and pointed down.
Got it.
There are some people and some houses that we see that do want to be shining from their house out into their yard, and I guess that's from security, but that it would have an impact on that. So if you see a floodlight that's just going from one house all the way across the yard and obviously bleeding into the next house, that floodlight would have to be adjusted to be pointed down so as to not shine off the property.
All right.
So a floodlight on your property that, illuminates your driveway and or yard, as long as it's not shining onto somebody else's property, is okay?
Should be shielded down, yes.
I mean, we have floodlights on the exterior of our corners of the house because, we have basketball goal that the kids like to play, but it's not like shining like this. It's, kind of like that, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah. And who's
trying to
going
see
to,
if, like,
who's
someone is
enforcing
gonna
this? I mean, this feels
this
very
ordinance
HOA-ish to me, but
an extreme or something.
Yes, actually, you've described what I think will be tough. There are going to be some tough applications. Is that light
And there's no
illuminating?
restriction on how bright the floodlight can be either.
Build an
It's
apartment
just
and a
pointed
second
down.
shift.
I don't know. Yeah, I think, some people want to take this to an extreme.
I think
could
that's
cause
a
some
good example
trouble.
of a challenge that we would face that.
So
I think there will be some that are blatantly obvious that it's, casting shadows onto the neighbors. That would be an easy application. I think there are other applications that cafe light or whatever the string lights would be, they're not shining, but floodlight that's lighting up a basketball court might be in that kind of gray area where could be deemed a violation of something like this.
David?
But dependent kind of.
So,
on the
yeah,
perception
this
of the neighbor.
kind of went through the planning commission last year and then kicked around and back and forth. And I had some comments, and one of them was like the first one, because it says on residential structure. And this was I think the first one was to deal mostly with lighting on the waterways and the marsh and the docks. And since it says on residential structures, it doesn't stop anybody from sticking a pole in their yard and putting their floodlights on the pole. So I wanted to suggest kind of a rewording of it, that outdoor lighting shining directly onto the intercoastal waterway, marsh, and other natural areas outside the owner's properties shall be extinguished when outdoor area is not in active use. And that way, if there's somebody out there fishing on their dock or doing something and they have lights on, it's not a question. If the dock's empty and the lights are bright lights shining into the marsh, that's a very easy one. Had the same thought you did about people playing basketball, kids playing basketball at night. Again, I don't think there was any intent to stop that, but I think that can be dealt with in a very similar manner. So looking through on the second one, and this tied back into, it was outdoor lighting of residential properties in excess of 40 watts or 300 lumens shall be installed so that the lamp or light emitting element is not visible from adjacent properties. And we were asking about how would you enforce it? The way it was currently written, you'd have to be out there at night. If you can't see the element of in other words, back to Doug's, if it's shielded where you can't see the bulb, you can check that during the daytime. So our inspectors, when they're looking at houses and new developments, it's easy for that to check without having to see what it does at night. And that was actually copied from somebody else's ordinance, which I thought was very well written. And based on advice from a lighting engineer, that's where I got to that one. I think those two would actually address almost all of our issues. And again, if you've got the single candelabra bulb light on your porch, that's not an issue. It's when you put the 60 or 100 watt bulb that's not shielded shining into the neighbor's house, that does become an issue, potentially.
Rusty?
Yeah, well, there are, for example, I've got spotlights on the corners of my house and they're sort of, they're not motion sensor, but when you turn them on, they're shining back towards the deck and in the yard. Never really paid any attention whether it's shining towards my neighbor's house or not, but they go off in 10 minutes on a timer. Where does something like that fit into this?
On a slippery slope. That's where it
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
I just think this is overreach. I'm not in favor of it.
One question, clarification on the docks. So do I read this? This really doesn't apply
Correct.
to docks
That's
at
correct.
all? Because clearly they would be there for safety.
That's
Okay,
correct.
just-
I mean, the group did talk about a scenario where it wasn't a safety light on the
Because it
dock.
was shining across the water.
Well, or it was like a decorative, purely decorative, and it was, but yeah, I think it's safe to say it does not apply to lighting on docks.
Okay.
This is first reading. We can make changes to second reading, right?
Yeah. So Nicole, we've got a motion and we've dealt with Jimmy's motion. We need to go back to the original motion for this.
You're just voting that it's passed first.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah. So we've got but we've already got a motion and a second for that. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on.
Yeah,
I
what-
actually wanted to ask a question. I'm
Sorry.
Sorry. Could we put this back? Like, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like there's a lot of, if this was to have interest, there's work that needs to be done. I feel like it got considerably shaved down and I don't know, changed.
I mean, it would go back to committee either way, unless it doesn't
She's
pass.
saying the
tonight.
EAC committee. Are you saying the
Right.
EAC or are you
To
saying?
go back to the environmental committee.
Only if it passes first reading.
Right.
If it doesn't pass first reading, it's done.
So if it passes first reading, it goes back to them,
Comes back to us for
but
second
comes
reading.
back to them for
Would not go to them.
how much modification? No. you're
Would
saying-
not go back to the EAC or planning. It
No.
would go, it
Go
could
to
go
public
to,
safety or,
unless you will direct it there.
Yeah.
It wouldn't naturally go back.
Got it.
Could go to a subcommittee if you will direct it
council.
there. Could go to but it wouldn't naturally go to the EAC or planning.
Has this been recommended by planning commission?
Yes,
Okay.
planning and EAC.
But not really in the
So which committee would
same
it go back to?
version,
The
right?
Right.
Public safety?
Could go back to either, probably public safety would be the one.
Yeah, I think if y'all make any changes to the zoning ordinance, which were not considered by planning commission, it's got to go back to planning commission and then back to you
Right.
for approval under the Comprehensive Planning Act. So if you make changes that were not considered by planning commission when they made their initial recommendation, you have to send it.
Well, right now, we're just voting up or down.
So can we vote in, can I, is there an option of sending this somewhere else instead of voting up or down on it now? Or is that not
It's on
not
the
possible?
it's on the
It's
floor.
on-
Okay.
So you have to give a yes or no to pass the first reading.
So Nicole, you need show of hands.
Okay.
Oh, wait, restate what we're voting. What does I mean? What does yes? What does nay mean?
So you're voting, if you're voting yes, you're approving first reading for ordinance 2026-02. Send it back to a committee somewhere and
Or no, it won't go. It won't go.
it'll go somewhere. If we
If you don't
approve
give
it,
it
can we?
first reading, it will die.
No, if you do though, where does it go?
Oh, if you
We
do,
do.
it would typically just come back to council,
That's what I
but it
thought.
could go to a council subcommittee, or if you want to direct it to another committee. you
Bless
can-
you.
Do you need to vote to remand it to a certain committee?
So if y'all approve it now, it comes back for second reading and you make changes. And those changes were not considered by planning commission. You'll have to go
Then it's
back to
come back.
planning commission, not to make another recommendation, then it can come back to you for second and final reading.
But it's not possible to
Can
vote
we-
yes
can we-
and send it to a specific place at this
Yeah.
point in time.
Can we amend the motion to say something like that? Like, we'll approve it, but it needs work still. And they'd like,
Who made the motion?
I think you did.
I don't
I
remember.
don't remember.
I don't.
Can we withdraw
I
it?
make the motion. I'm not in favor of it.
Okay, well, they could, but I
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
could. Yeah, they want to do that.
Idea is if EAC, if you killed it, if you didn't, could they take it up again? But I don't know if I don't know if I'm hearing, I guess
That's not for tonight.
and I guess I'm not hearing, if it's being voted against for nuanced reasons or, I mean, I guess I want to know that, or if it's just kind of, I'm just hearing it's overreach and
Well, I don't know what the vote is. We need to determine that before we go further. Nicole, you need a show of hands.
Okay, so this is a motion to approve first reading. All those in favor, please raise your. Okay. Everybody else, just for kicks and grins? No? Nay? Opposed? All right, thank you. The motion passes first reading.
Now,
you
So-
want to revert it to a committee.
Can we revert it to the committee or
You can get
what
environmental?
committee?
Yeah.
So you make a motion to remand it to a certain committee?
Yes,
Yeah.
What
to
committee?
environmental.
Is there a second?
And is there a deadline, is there a time frame on that? Like, because we've already voted on first reading,
And it-
there's not.
There's not one.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Was there guidance given with what they,
To environment.
I know, but
To where?
what are they is there something they should be addressing? Or Katie, you have a,
Katie is the
liaison.
The things that everybody seems to have issues with, and see if we can come up with something that's a little bit more palatable. I mean, that's,
all right. I'm gonna let Katie do
She's
that.
the liaison.
Yeah,
so
She's
she can
let her do her liaison thing.
Nicole, did you get
We
that
need a
motion?
liaison.
Second and vote
Yes.
on remanding it to the environmental? Okay. Next, first reading by title only. Ordinance 2026-03, an ordinance to establish decimal limits in the noise ordinance.
Make a motion to approve waive reading.
second.
Jimmy,
I'd like to suspend the rules of order to allow discussion.
second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
Okay, I hope that this will be much simpler and won't take as much of y'all's very, very valuable time. And so I'll ask Mac, I've got a couple of questions from a layman's standpoint. The decibel readings in all the areas, commercial and residential, or is it just residential is 55 decibels?
Give me a second. This applies to any person, entity, or establishment.
Establishment, would that mean commercial, enterprise,
Yes,
restaurant, bars?
yes.
So it's 55 decibels is the limit.
Only after 10 PM though, right?
Yes.
No, I'm not finished. Thank you very much.
Yeah, 10 PM to 7 AM. And 11 PM to 7 AM Friday and Saturday.
So what about the daytime hours? What is the decibel limit?
I don't think there is one.
Anywhere?
No.
No.
We still have the reasonableness.
There is no decibel limit
Right.
during the day. We concentrated it. The committee, the old Public Safety Committee did this, and it was, the concentration was at night.
And so even in commercial areas, the upper range is still 55 decibels, correct?
At night.
At night.
Night, yes.
Yeah,
That's the limit.
yeah,
Yeah.
past 10
And so
o'clock.
if people are talking normally, if right now I'm probably at 65, that would be unlawful. In a commercial area, if someone standing on the property line of like a residence next to a business could hear it, people talking in a normal tone, or if it breaks to 55 decibels, then that would be unlawful.
if they can hear it plainly audible in any adjacent street or right of way or adjacent to any place, of public accommodations, dwelling, or other residence.
See, that's a little confusing too. It says there, or says, if it's audible at all, or is it 55 decibels, or is it audible whatsoever?
It's either,
It's
I would
audible.
think.
Yeah, it's audible at all.
And where
At
is,
all. So if somebody is like on their deck, and some of these new bigger houses, they have like a big structure and they have a deck in the back or something. And so they're pretty close to their neighbor, and they're out there playing a radio or talking a little too loudly, whatever. And the neighbor can hear it at all, just completely can hear it just a little bit, then that would be unlawful.
If it's a radio, an amplified instrument, talking,
TV,
and they can hear it at all after those times, either in the road or at their
Property line.
house, it would be illegal
but it
after those
says,
hours.
but on the 55 part, it says beyond the property of the noise source. So that means that you're measuring, the decibel level is being measured at the property line. So you have a place where it says that you can't have more than 55 decibels at the property line, which makes one think that 54 decibels at the property line would be okay. Am I not reading that right?
It's
That's
either
right. Let's talk just briefly, examples of 55 decibels. I've been reading about it. One example is electric toothbrush. Of course, nobody's going to be standing on the property line brushing their teeth. But
if you went right to your property line
yeah,
and we measured it
yeah,
at the other side of the property line, that might
yeah, that would be over 55. But it's like other examples of 55 decibels where my research is like a normal conversation, a quiet office environment, some appliances, like blenders and
So-
things like that.
So I'll try to address that. So the 55, when they talk about that, that's usually measured at either 1 foot or 3 feet from that noise source. As you move further away, it drops dramatically. So to give you an example, if I'm running my shop vac, which is say, quote, about 70 dB, if I'm 10 feet from my neighbor's property line, it would probably be about 55. If I'm running that same shop vac inside the garage of my house, it will be much less than that. So I don't know if that helps kind of
Yeah,
understand.
that helps a lot.
Yeah.
But the big thing, and I know I'm trying to finish up because I know everybody's tired, but even with commercial enterprises, restaurants and bars in the Front Beach area, if they can hear anything at all, any decibel level at all, down on the adjacent property line, then that would be unlawful. Is that correct?
if it's one of those things. Yes. So if it's a car pulling up, that's not one of those things. So that wouldn't be illegal. But if it is basically a radio, people talking, people yelling, and it's past those hours and you can hear it either in the road or at the house next door, it would be illegal.
What about past those hours? You've got, a couple talking on the back deck. You got to take in the environment we live in. Noise travels pretty easily. So you got that factor. Then you've also got the cicadas and any other, environmental noise or any traffic noise or anything. And there's nothing in here to say like it has to be sustained noise for any certain time. I mean, how do you take into account outside noise that's not just the people talking? It's, the thunder or whatever. I mean,
Well, that is the reason why it is or you can hear those things at the house. So if there's a lot of cicadas, ocean noise, and it's over 55, the officer would also be listening. Can I hear a radio, musical instrument talking that stuff. And if he can, it would be a violation. But if he goes and it's 80, but you can't hear that, you can't hear a person talking, but there's loud noise and cicadas, that's not going to be a violation because you can't hear the person. The ambient noise is above 55. But you have to,
So
if you can
human
hear the
source.
person.
Basically human source.
Yeah. Well,
Or
not
TV,
only human,
radio,
but
Yeah,
it's not-
TV.
yeah.
Well, somebody got
More
turned
than
on
that.
TV, but so. Do you think you will get any pushback from the businesses on this?
my personal opinion, I think the businesses are doing a very good job with, it's the same hours. I don't know that, and Chief could probably speak to this, I don't know that we get a lot of noise complaints at those hours. You know, it's late at night. I think they have generally shut things down. So it would be an establishment that was allowing people to be out and making noise after those hours. And I think we'd get calls about that. But you'd be getting a call from somebody's being disturbed in their home by the noise being made.
Yeah.
I think they would probably get that call today already.
Well, I think everybody's heard enough from me, but I appreciate everybody's patience. Let me ask those questions.
Mayor?
Another one that's hard to
Yeah.
enforce, yeah.
Yeah, well, in committee, I voted against this last year. I mean, I think the decibel level's too low at 55. I think it's, again, some overreach. I did some research. Different municipalities, most municipalities in our area anyway, have no established decibel level with exclusion of Mount Pleasant. And I don't know how well that's enforced over there, Shim Creek in that area. But it looks like most municipalities define it as being general noise restrictions, being unreasonable noise if it's unreasonably loud and disturbing or unnecessary noise that interferes with the peace of others. And then most people have, the same sort of hours we're talking about, the nighttime hours between, I think it's 11 to 7 in the morning or whatever, expected that there would be a quiet time during that period of time. But again, most municipalities that I researched up and down the coast don't have a defined decibel level that they're enforcing. In fact, Myrtle Beach had one and they backed off. North Myrtle Beach still has a decibel level, but Myrtle Beach backed off because they considered it unenforceable to some extent. And they went back to the language where they're saying if it's unreasonably loud and we get a noise complaint, the officer will make a decision as to whether they're being cited or not. I think 55 for me, I mean, if you look at a chart, 55 falls somewhere between a quiet office and normal conversation. And I just, if we want to go down the road of a decibel level, it seems to me it ought to be considerably higher than that. I'm not for it.
That 55 is not at the place of the conversation. It is at the property line. And that's where that is significantly less. As you move 2 feet away, it goes less than that. And I mean, I believe we talked about this back last time we talked about this, and without a decibel level, it's very hard to enforce. If somebody, it's like a police officer saying you were speeding and you say, well, how fast was I going? And they say too fast. Back in the 50s, that probably would have worked okay. But nowadays someone's going to be like, I want to see the radar gun and I want to see how fast I was going. And today I would say the same thing. I would say, tell me how loud I was. I mean, just because you say I was too loud, I want to see a decibel. Now, that's why I think the decibel level, I think it works in both directions also, because the business or person can, if they're at 54 decibels, then they can say, I'm going to keep on keeping on.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not against the decibel level. I just think 55 is too low. I honestly do.
So the 55, when this came up, it was bouncing between 50 and 60. 55 would be something outside your house at 55 would probably be would be distinguishable inside your house. It'd be very quiet, but it would be about the threshold you would start hearing it inside your house. And that's kind of where I felt that 55 number would be the right number for nighttime.
Well, I disagree. And if you look at our livability complaints on a monthly basis, we really don't get that many noise complaints. Even in the summertime, we don't get that many.
We've got a motion and a second. Show of hands. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Got it.
Set on resolutions and proclamations, Resolution 2026-01 to authorize consumption of beer and wine at the Front Beach Festival on March 7th, 2026. If you make a motion, if you'll add waive reading, that would be great.
Make a motion to approve and waive reading.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being no further business.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Off record at 8:58.